back to the Metropole Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. It is Thursday, October the 21st. We are 1 week away from Worlds. 1 month away from Worlds. Exactly 1 month, give or take. We're honestly like really close to being exactly 1 month away from crowning a winner of Worlds. It'll be on the 21st at around maybe 5 p.m. Eastern, maybe a bit later. I'm not actually sure. We got some unfortunate news. It looks like Restream, the chatbot that we usually use, isn't working. So that's just unfortunate. I don't know why. Couldn't fix it, obviously. So the people at Twitch and the people at YouTube chat, you cannot talk to each other. I want to emphasize that the other side is always there. They're always watching. They do talk some shit. So if you want to just bring up and air some grievances, it's a really good time now because there's very little repercussions to it. Zendorius, how's it going? Hey everyone, hope you all having a great week. I've been having a really good week. It's a huge week for Netrunner. Why am I scrolled to the bottom of this page? Oh, I was reading it. It's actually a really big week for Netrunner. We have a new standard ban list that came out on Monday at like 6 in the morning or something. Thrasno say exactly, give or take. Guess I'll move over to Twitch. You don't want to hear what they've been saying about you over there. Maybe you should stay here for a while. How's it going? Timmy, how's it going? What's poppin'? How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Happy Thursday, yo Baza. How you doing? All right. Thrasno's 1 on YouTube, Thrasno's 2 on Twitch. Yo, who's here? How's everyone doing? So if you don't know, we're gonna spend a lot of today. Normally we start with the deck list of the week. Hold on, I have to hit one of these buttons. But now I have less space because I have 2 chat windows open, which we haven't done this in many, many moons. Okay, apparently that's important. We have a new standard ban list that came out, and this is going to be the meta that you're going to see again at Worlds is in 1 month from now, starting on the 19th of November. It's a 3-day event. It's going to be online this year as it was last year. Again, anyone can register. There is some registration fee, but it's open to anyone. It's not like some other card games where you have to have done something meritocracy. You can just kind of get in on that, which is fantastic. New ban list, I've already tested it. Spoilers, BON is still not that good. So Endurias, I'm gonna that's a huge breath of relief. I was holding my breath there for Builder of Nations, but it's people are trying it. You need your mass comms back. You really do, don't you? So we had a new update. We're gonna be spending most of today talking, I think, about the standard ban list and kind of just going through what we think it's gonna do, how we're gonna change, and we're gonna try out some decks. And try out some decks is actually such a cool thing. Because the folks at Nisei, the folks at the standard balance team actually published deck lists, which is so cool. There's always been this conversation about like, oh, is it unfair that people who are doing MWL testing or people who are testing the new cards, the new sets before they come out, are allowed to participate in premier events like Worlds, having, months more of testing than some other players who they've been in the meta and have been spending a couple weeks or a couple months, testing out in a non-Vacheron world. And I want to emphasize right now that Netrunner DB isn't loading very quickly, but that's okay. We'll get through this. But the fact that they publish these things, they publish the decks that they've been playtesting, so you start on a pretty strong foot, understanding like, hey, this is what we've come to. This is the deck that we thought was good enough, or in some cases not good, that we've made some decisions on what we think the meta should look like. That is amazing. That is so accessible. I straight up think any of these decks, barring the ones that they've labeled as being not very good, you could pick up and bring to Worlds and probably have an okay time. Which is so cool. It's so cool. I didn't take 4 points right at the start of that second game. Yo, Solomir, how's it going? It's fun. It's my favorite bad ID, but I won't be bringing it to a tournament. I get always really upset with Builder of Nations because abstractly, it makes sense, and then you play it because you forgot that you tried it 3 months ago and swore you wouldn't do it again. It's a really nasty habit, Builder of Nations. Anyways, this is fantastic, but we're going to be spending most of today talking about the ban list and trying out some of these decks as well. Unfortunately, we're not going to be playing the deck list of the week this week. The deck list of the week is honestly, we'll just spend like 2-3 minutes talking about it. It is pretty interesting. This is happening tonight. This is not just me, right? Is everyone enjoying this? The Void. You can use this Twitch app as a flashlight at this point. Hold on. I'll just hide my face. People are gonna open this up and be very confused what's happening to Twitch.tv. I guess YouTube too if you don't use dark mode. So this is called a single mama fraud in the con walk into a bank, and it's a Xi list, and it is a competitive list, I reckon. Thanos, NRDB is also slow for you. Okay, so it's not just me. That's good to know. How's it going? It's basically a Xayah startup list. I think it's only 7 cards into standard. Otherwise, this like actually looks incredibly similar to what you might see in startup. The only cards that are within the standard format that aren't in startup are 2 Bankroll, Turning Wheel, Miss Bones, Citadel. I think that's it. Which is pretty wild. Like, that's not that many cards. I don't think any of those cards are like super integral to the deck. Miss Bones, there's nothing exactly like this within startup. The closest you have is something like Scrubber. Maybe you could play Overclock in some, convoluted way, but that's neat. Citadel is also kind of neat, but there's not that much tags to be worried about. Well, you don't need this sort of protection in the startup format, I don't think. But it's a neat deck, and I think the one big thing about this deck that's weird is it doesn't run Diversion of Funds, which is strange. But apparently that's been working well. It also runs 2 multi-axis cards, which is, or 2 types of different multi-axis, which is a bit different than most other Xayah lists or just criminal lists in general. A lot of times it's one or the other. You don't often see both, but this conduit makes a lot of sense in Xayah, specifically where she can get paid not on the first time she accesses multiple cards from Essential, HQ or R&D, but once per turn. So you could run conduit 4 times and get paid off on the 4th one, which is actually quite nice because you make a lot of money. Same with the Turning Wheel. But this deck is cool. It's neat. That's Schitt's Creek, which is a show in Canada. And unfortunately, I'm not gonna play it because there's other stuff to talk about. But looks cool. It's like a pretty standard good stuff, criminal stuff. The like what's interesting about this deck is what's excluded as opposed to what's in it. And maybe if it was a 45 card 419 deck, the 3 diversions would have shown up. But who knows? Yo, Andre, hey, good evening. Yo, good to see you this weekend. Hey, Andre, coming back to Netrunner after almost 2 years. Yo, Corporal Cards, how's it going? How did that happen? Why did that happen? Why are you back after 2 years? Not that we're happy to have you. We really are. I just trying to figure out what's up. This is weird. Giles, how's it going? Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Yo, how you doing? Welcome. Unfortunately, again, I just said this a bit earlier, but the restream bot is down, so YouTube and Twitch are not talking to each other, unfortunately, tonight. And tonight is a big night because we're going to be talking about the news to standard Banlist 2110 that was dropped just this Monday, really early in the morning. I woke up to this. Did you all wake up to this? Okay, we're going to talk about it because there's a lot to talk about. This is the meta in which worlds will exist. Wait, did the cross chat bot die? Yeah, Solomir did. I don't know why. It just didn't register. It actually is. The cross chat bot is working on Twitch, so Twitch can talk to Twitch. I'm not joking, but it just wasn't registering the YouTube stream. It said the YouTube stream has ended. That's all I got. A buddy and I played together back in the day, and one board night we busted out the cards, got the itch again. Oh, super cool. I don't know, Kurtz, are you educated about the world of Nisei? I reckon you're probably playing with older cards. But it's still been pretty great. Worlds is in straight up a month. And we have a new ban list today, which is really exciting. So the meta is actually very fresh right now. Duck, excited to hear your thoughts on SBL. Yo, yeah. I think it was Duke, right? No, I think it was Duck. Yo, Andre, you see Yusengrin's new series yet? I have not checked it out fully yet. I watched the first bit of the Food Coats one, if that's the one you're talking about, but I know there was a second one and maybe a third one. I haven't got it yet. The latest episode is Noise v Piranha. It slaps. Okay, I'm excited to check that out. I'm actually a really big Noise fan. It's Doc. Okay, cool. Thank you. You told me that before. I should have known better. Excuse me. Hey, Extreme is in our APAC testing group. Shout out Drop Bears. Oh, super cool. Oh, that's really cool. Okay. Let's talk about this. So this is a new ban list, and I think people really wanted a new ban list. If we check really quick to always be running.net and we look at some of the results, let's be honest, the results for the Continental series, specifically when it comes to the top tables, were not looking very diverse. And this is obviously a problem in a card game. Some people would argue it isn't, but I would argue that a lot of people want to see different cards or different IDs at the top tables. There was a lot of Continental Championships, and Intercontinentals I don't think was that much different, in which the top 8 cut was only 2 factions, and in some cases 2 or 3 identities. So we open up Always Be Running, and you look at the top 8 cut. There's a way to see the top cut. Yeah, right here, right? Like, this is not good. This is not a good look. Obviously, something should have been done about it, and it looks like we have something done. But this is so this is the Midwest Championships, but it's 4 IDs, half HB, half yellow, same here. Nobody's playing Shaper at the top table. It's not a problem. And this kind of repeats itself over and over again if you go through all the top cuts. Same thing, Absolutely the same. And I think you're going to see these 4 identities. Maybe you're going to see Acme slip in there, but that's all it is. Max 4 and 9. Saya, okay, that kind of works, I guess. You might see other annex in there too. Ooh, this one, Asia Pacific, looking a bit nicer. Even a Wayland deck up there. I did not remember that. That one actually looks a bit better, and that's Asia Pacific. That was the first one, for what it's worth. And after that, things got more narrow and narrow. So that's a problem. Actually, we haven't seen, you know, don't ask me for evidence, but I don't think we've seen top cuts be this, like 2 IDs in the top 8. That is bad. I don't think we have seen it be this homogenous since the Worlds is of, I think it's 2016, in which there was like 13 out of 16 top corps at World Championships were NBN controlling the message. Oh God, that Worlds? Yeah, right? Is that what it is? 2016 Netrunner World Championship. I'm going to do Aku. I think Aku is the right thing to search. Yeah, Aku.net used to be a website. Yes, I agreed to see this website. Yo, Norbert, how's it going? Hey, Mitchball, how you doing? Check this out. This was Worlds 2016. And this is, again, I think this is also peak homogeneity, where we're looking at the top 16. We're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 NBN. Sorry, 9 controlling the message. But wait, the entirety of the top 16 was NBN in 2016? Are you kidding me? Are you serious? I didn't know it was that bad. That is bad. And if you look on the runner side, you see a couple wizards. And then 2 shapers, which is quite nice. Runner isn't much better. Yeah, runner is not much better, but oh my God, that is like, that's obviously not good. But things were looking not amazing, but I think we're going to see a shake up here. So it's just good to understand where we were. And if we looked at the always be running charts, you need to understand, I guess it's good to understand, if we're talking about this, what identities were super representative on the competitive tables. If nothing changed, we would have continued to see these decks. Sports Metal, if you've seen the Blame Changer deck, if you heard about it, that's a really big deal. It's a really fast Sports Metal deck that's audacing out agendas and runs Project Vacheron, which is an agenda that's worth 0 points. That's a big deal. And Precision Design, which has just always been strong since it came out, which has this Rush Glacier list. It does a lot of things really good, and it can score really tempo positive agendas in remote servers that give them money, and they continue controlling the board. On top of that, you have Acme, which is playing Glacier now. Oh, that works. And then you have controlling the message, which has not really changed since 2016. Doing great. Hope Quebec is good. I remember that meta. Yeah, right? Ooh, I don't know about that one. I think you're trying to remember 13 out of 16 were Boom NBN. Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, but this meta slap, like the games were great. So Anarcho, like I hear you. And that's the thing too, okay? Like if we're going to be negative about this, I had a really good time watching and casting Continentals because the games are honestly pretty exciting. Like Sports Metal can be pretty exciting because the games are very fast. They can be very explosive. Every single axis really matters. Same with PD, Precision Design, that has a pretty tight clock on the runner. Like I think these decks are actually kind of fun to watch. Like Max, especially the virus versions, even the APOC versions, they have a lot of moving pieces and they are a treat to watch. But I think we would want more. We want a bit diverse thing. And again, I'm one of those players who thinks that CTM is fun to watch on a competitive table. Like I will say that. I remember specifically because Ben Nee, mind you, was a content creator back in the day. Bayoken, still making content on YouTube today. I watched so much of Ben's stuff. Like I remember that some of those games they slapped really hard. Kurt says I'm familiar with all the shifts in the game. Looking forward to messing with it. Oh, super cool. Yo, howdy Andre. Thanks for responding to my question about the music a while back. Add that J for me. Oh, I see with the name. Yeah, hey, no problem. The people ask about the music. There's no real good place to put like the whole list, but I generally try and respond. I know someone asked last week and somebody else answered them, so that's fantastic. 2017 Worlds was fairly homogenous and the games were awful. Was 2017 the that was the rewiring gear, right? 2017. What am I searching? Championship? World Championship. Netrunner. CTM in the pre-current ban era broke. CTM in the Nisa era woke. Okay, how do we find the whole lists? Aku wasn't really a thing back then. Neither was Always Be Running, was it? No. How do we find results for this? Where are the results? I don't know. But if I'm not mistaken, yeah, this was the year of CI, and I think out of the top cut, it was mostly CI, and CI is way less fun to watch. Netrunner DB is being a bit slow today, so excuse me if you're going to see a white screen a fair bit. 2017 was CI Words and Laguna Lock. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. This wasn't fun. I was at the World. I was playing Prison Gagarin, so be the change in the meta you want to see. Anywho, that's where we stood right now. I think there's a lot of people wanted shakeups. Right now, there's only like 5-6 IDs that are represented at the top tables. This game does have a fair few IDs, so let's see what Nisei did. It is also worth noting that there were people, making some noise about Vashron wanting to be banned. I think that was the obvious contender of what was to be banned going forward. Everyone asked ban Vashron. We did get that. Spoilers alert. I was asked also like a week ago what I thought was going to get banned, and I think I said I'm pretty sure 419 is going to get banned. Just because everyone's tired of 419. We're going to have to deal with 419 for almost ever if nothing's done about it, which is a problem. And Cyberdeck Sandbox, I wasn't convinced was going to get banned because I think it was really important because some of the other best decks in the format are virus decks. 419 technically too is a virus deck to some extent. So let's see what happened, right? I know what happened. This is just, we're building a narrative. I played against the CTM last night for the first time. Is the general idea that you never trash an install card? Oh, Nato, no. It's not. You definitely do need to trash things. One of the best things you can do against controlling the message is trash multiple cards in the same turn because their ability to give you a tag fires the first thing a turn you trash. But it's important to know you need to keep your money up. It's a very economic game. Their ways to score out agendas are actually pretty limited because they don't generally have good remote servers. Having a lot of money is also very important, and they can run traps. It's a very nuanced game, and it can be very difficult. And it's one of the matchups which punishes a mistake more heavily than any other deck. If you run at an unoptimal time, you hit something like a Unbanned Virtual Tour, you trash something that you shouldn't trash, and you end up in a credit deficit suddenly, or you float a tag suddenly, and you end up, what a predictive planogram into hard-hitting news. You can lose the game pretty quickly. So it is a bit more nuanced, and there are very good articles online about how to play against CTM. Solmir says CTM punishes runner decks without strong, robust economy. That's one of the biggest things, yes. One of the best things you can do against CTM is just like play down 2 Rizekis and then start checking stuff sometimes. Nice, thanks, Great Summer. Yeah, it's way more nuanced than that. There's so many competitive CTM games you can dig up on the internet because CTM has been competitive since day one. But it is a very tricky matchup. But one of the best things you can do, there's tech cards. Citadel Sanctuary for tags is such a big deal, specifically if you have Link. Cards like Miss Bones, 2 of 3 of, if you're playing Criminal, helps you trash things off the board. But a big thing against controlling the message is not all cards have the same amount of threat on the table. If they have a lot of money, you don't need to trash their pad campaign. If they have very little money and you have a lot of money, trash their pad campaign. Daily Business Show doesn't look like it's a problem, but it is. It makes sure that it means that they don't draw into agendas and they don't flood up. It means they draw into their punishment and all the proper assets they want to spam out. There's a lot of things you have to respect. So it is, it's a bit tricky. Imagine PU being the variety deck. I showed a friend the CI deck once and it's like, this ruins the game. There were some really bad ones, Norbert. I remember when it could score out on like turn 4. It could win the game on like turn 4, turn 5. The ones that just run Mythic Ice. And a bit of PU. CTM punishes runner decks, excuse me. I think PU suffered from anti-mill hate. That is unfair. And I remember this bias for Magic. Didn't care for the ban, potentially hot take. I think Norbert, that is a pretty hot take. And we're going to be talking about that because this sort of PU identity comes up to some extent with some of these cards. So let's dive into it. Daily Business legit might be the best card in the game. I wouldn't go that far, but Daily Business Show is low-key one of the strongest cards. Excuse me. I just agreed with you. It's low-key an incredibly powerful card that doesn't look like it's a powerful card. I wouldn't say it's one of the strongest, but it's really, really, really good. Okay, so Continental Championship is in our rearview mirror. This is written by Lost Geek. Shout out to Lost Geek. It's time to revisit the standard ban list. I really love these things where they post what they've done, but they also talk a bit about it, which is way better than just dumping the list. Okay, with many people enjoyed the meta during Continentals, there are still some issues which we felt need to be addressed. I think we talked about that a bit. These mostly notably include the speed of the top corp decks restricting viable runners, as well as the near complete absence of competitive decks from the Jinteki and Shaper factions. I still think one part of that's true. Additionally, with the card pool unchanged since June and a number of big tournaments in the meantime, we feel that the meta is largely solved and a shakeup is needed to ensure an exciting Worlds. Funny enough, I don't think the meta is entirely solved. I think the meta is mostly solved, but we are starting to see stuff like NBN Glacier showing up, which kind of reared its head at the end of the Continental season, so that's pretty exciting. I do think Jinteki and Shaper are pretty bland, or just they're not representative as competitive factions. I don't even know if this list solves it, but it definitely pushes some of them in the right direction. And the speed of the corp decks, I think it's a really big deal, because the best thing, your deck was not viable a month ago in the meta if you could not deal with sports and PD, full stop. And there's a lot of decks that just couldn't do it. Shaper just couldn't do it. They don't have disruption. The best they do is have access to Clop, but that's actually one of the big deals that now hopefully you don't need need to check against these things so hard that, you know, more things are viable. So let's talk about what's happened. Okay. Firstly, Project Vacheron is banned. I'm going to pre-open all of these because NetRunnerDB is being a bit slow today. So I'm just going to open all of these in a different window. And we can go through and talk about them. Effective date. Ooh, not even. I imagine people are playing this week with this new stuff anyways. Okay, I'm just going to stall for a second while this all loads. Accidentally agree, because legit agree. I just reread this and realized that PE is banned. I think my brain missed that early because it seems absolutely impossible. Yeah, right, Raketha? It's wild. And the PE ban is a bit more nuanced because they talk about this ban. And this is actually... They've basically said this is a temporary ban, which kind of slaps. Like, that's kind of really cool. But personal evolution is one of the identities that people have such a strong connection to, specifically because it's their first introduction to the game and to Jinteki. And it's the only identity in the format that really represents that sort of like fun shell game. Ooh. Ertiga Cypher. And people feel really strongly about that. I think this is the one card out of this whole list that sees the most play on more casual tables compared to the most competitive tables. So this thing we'll talk about for sure, but I'm hoping that this helps a bit because people really wanted this thing back. Analysis review? Yes, I think so. Yo, Connor, thanks for tuning in for a bit. As a new player, banning P is shocking. It's a pun, but I get the reasoning. Yeah, it's a really, this one is a hard one, and I have no doubt that the people in Nisei spent a lot of time thinking about this, obviously this whole list, but this one specifically, because it's the sort of thing that we saw back in, I think, 2018, if I'm not mistaken, or was it 2017? But the last FFG Worlds, where FFG just went out of the way and they just banned some stuff before Worlds, and they just said, hey, we want our Worlds to be as fun as possible, because personal evolution abstractly on the competitive side represents this like grindy, what people called a potato deck back in the day, that just kind of ground you down, and had their win con was just full attrition. There was not a lot of good strategy, not planning. It was just generally click for 3 credits. And that's good for Worlds that we don't have to watch that. That's my take on it, but it's bad for a lot of the more casual players who don't care about competitive Netrunner, who love personal evolution. But again, this will be unbanned. Almost guaranteed. I think they basically said it in the article that this will be unbanned, so we'll get that. Everybody want to go back to that? Miss something? No, Rust Rider, how's it going? No. A lot of people want. I've heard a lot of people that say unban Kikugo. I'm not one of those people, but hey, I can't believe anyone. At least we can play PE and startup. Yeah, that's actually a huge deal. I don't want to say hello to you based off of the name, but how's it going? Yes, this is also only for the standard team, for the standard format. So if you want to play PE in your startup, none of this applies to startup. Mati was afraid. Mati deserved it. Yo, Ixron, how's it going, by the way? I think I missed some stuff. Hold on. Double core set ID, that's like one of the game defining IDs for a new player now banned despite not actually being played. Yes, I think that's a very accurate way of talking about it. It's weird, but I don't disagree with it. Good week to show up. Yeah, tell me about it. While the decks load, maybe talk about your thoughts about how they explain the changes. Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, okay, well, we're going to get to it. We're going to do everything in order because the analysis comes later. We need to talk about the cards and what they're capable of. Okay, so let's start at the top. Project Vacheron. Everybody, hopefully you get a drink. We're going to be talking today. I'm going to be as much chat. We're going to have as much I want to hear people's opinions about this. Like, obviously I have my own opinion, but I want to hear everyone else's opinion about that. We can talk about it because this is cool. I think overall people have been pretty positive about this, these changes, and I'm excited to see what Worlds looks like this year. I remember when T was first spoiled and I queued for a game on JNet with a super fun run-based criminal deck. My opponent was playing it. Yeah, we were all there, huh? 40 turn attrition matches aren't fun in my view, but spiky chip damage that bonks it by turn 18 is cool by me. Isandorus, I hear you about that, but the problem is that you can't stop that from happening, right? Like, everyone in P just does the other one. Jinteki should be better. No, not like that. Okay, this is Project Vacheron. It's a 5-3 agenda. This is the 3rd Nisei card that's been banned? 4th Nisei card that's been banned? Yo, that's hot trivia. Okay, what Nisei printed cards? Motorcycle. When Nisei printed cards have been banned, it's been the Wayland Grid, it's been the Yellow Gold Farmer. If you don't say their names, you don't say their names, so you forget them. Engram Flush and Vacheron. I think it's 4, right? So Vacheron, that's the way you say it, is a 5-3 agenda that has shown up specifically very much in this sports metal deck, and the sports metal deck runs a lot of 1-3 agendas and 3-2 agendas and just fast advance them out of hand as quickly as possible. They have enough tools that they can score agendas from hand on 1 credit, sometimes on 0 credits, and they'll just fast advance just about anything from hand. They're also sports metal, which says it's going to be hard tonight because I can't open up all the cards because it's going to just take forever to load. But sports metal is an identity that says when an agenda is scored or stolen, you can either draw 2 cards or gain 2 credits. So no matter what the runner is doing, they're generally pushing their corporation forward. And they run all these agendas, and then they generally ran 2 Project Vacheron. So that's 6 agenda points out of their deck, which they almost always don't have a plan to score. They're sometimes capable to score them, but they're okay when the runner steals them, because Project Vacheron is useless for 4 turns. It's a 0-point agenda. So basically the deck is playing with 16 agenda points. No, 14 agenda points, right? Because 6 of their agenda points are Vacherons that don't actually do anything. And that's a really big deal because this deck can win the game sooner than the Vacheron can tick down. And that's such a big deal because there's just less threat. Now, again, Vacheron and this is the thing that you saw certain decks struggle against these sports metal decks because they didn't have a good way to deal with Vacheron. If you look at the criminal list, and the criminal decks were still doing good, things like 419 were still doing good on the competitive level into these Vacheron sports metal decks, but so much of their game plan was just to find a Vacheron on turn 1 or turn 2, so that if the game was over on turn 7, they would have 3 points. And you saw that. You saw some really sad kind of games on top tables where the criminals are just trying to hit things and they steal Vacheron and it does nothing. But if you compare that to decks like Anarch that have access to things like Imp and Stargate that are able to find the Vacheron and throw it into archives, and which is ability to fire, that was a really big deal. So Vacheron is banned, and I think this is the least surprise. This is the thing that was most obvious coming into the standard ban list, what people were speculating on, and I think it is great. Vacheron seems to be way stronger than when Nisei thought it could have been, just because the idea of having less agendas in your deck, less relevant agendas. Again, you can play 3 Vacherons in your deck, and if you win before turn 7, they're basically blank agendas, and that can be pretty wild. So you don't have to worry about this anymore. Which means that decks that don't have a way to deal with Vacheron, like Imp and Stargate, are less necessary. But now, does a sports metal deck even exist? And I honestly don't know. Maybe they could run a lot more 1-point agendas and start trying to do some sort of fast advance combo thing. I really wish we could open up decks, but it's really going a bit slow here. But we saw other sports metal decks do really well on the world stage that ran more agendas. And these decks did play Game Changer, another card that got somewhat recently banned earlier this year. But you could maybe slot in a bunch more 1-3s, or I think we play all the 3-2s you can, and then go from there and still be able to, get enough tempo if they steal enough agendas and close the game. But this is such a big deal because the sports metal deck was half of the top tables for the continental season, give or take. So this is gone. I don't think there was any bigger competitive lists that were running Vacheron that were anywhere near as represented as sports metal. The precision design decks weren't running Vacheron. They were running an entirely neutral agenda suite, barring the luminal transubstantiation. So this is a really big deal because now there was the meta was so defined by does your deck have like a 40% win rate against sports metal, and you don't have to worry about that again, which is sick. Can sports metal pivot? I doubt it, but that's a really big deal because that opens up the field, and the games will probably be a bit longer than what sports metal can close the game out. I wonder if Game Changer is more palatable now without Vacheron to pad out the runner score area. Yeah, Solomir, there's a threat there, and it's worth knowing they unbanned cards. Nisei unbanned cards, which is something that, sometimes is a surprise. I think this is the first time a standard ban list change has had more unbans than bans. We've actually added cards to the card pool instead of lost more, which is pretty wild. It's pretty exciting, honestly. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe you could unban Game Changer and it would be okay. Who knows? Yo, well, Pat, how's it going? Pat, I have a question for you because I've been thinking about it, and I'm gonna roast you a bit publicly. Just give me your consent, and we'll do this. Chris, I feel a little bad for Vacheron because he was exploring a new design space. I hope it doesn't limit the exploration. Chris, I don't think it's gonna limit the exploration. I think Nisei's obviously has learned something from this because a lot of testing goes in before, a lot of testing for the standard ban list. Vacheron specifically was also the center of a public debacle. So I think we're going to see cards like that. But again, fake agenda points, just like Global Food Initiative, is a really big deal that needs to be taken, tested very seriously. Vacheron is an interesting ban to me. I think it's a big impact on top tables where those 4 turns are eternity in the game. But low tables are far less efficient, and the 4 turns may not give the corp as wide of a window. I agree, Zendorius. A big part of why Vacheron was an issue is because the games were blazingly fast. Vacheron isn't useless. I can afford it to fetch a black file. Yeah, the black file actually did end up showing up. Sure, go ahead. Welcome to the roast of Patrick Sklar. It just ruined my ego. Yo, how's it going, Frank? Okay, so shout out to Pat organized. We had our first Netrunner meetup at Silver Goblin as just come in and show up and play. It was just this weekend. It was startup format, and we had like 13 to 14 players showing up for basically 6 hours, which kind of really slapped. It was really great to see a lot of old faces, people that I used to play Netrunner with. I haven't seen in person in like 2 years, but also Pat, can someone ruin your ego? Question mark. But also a lot of new players, which is obviously incredibly important. I met Diogene in person, which was really fun. He tried to grind me out with P, and I was like taking it really seriously. I did not want to lose to that. Okay, but I have a question for y'all. Let's take a tangent off of here. It is your casual event. Welcome to your casual Netrunner, where everyone comes in and hopefully has fun playing Netrunner against some new players. And you're playing an HB deck, okay? You've sleeved up your Mirror Morph deck. You're going to have fun. You're going to track your 3 different clicks and do something interesting. And you put Snare in it. You decided to put Snare in it, right? And so you got a good game. You're 20 minutes into the game. It's a back and forth. And then, that criminal with 2 cards in hand runs R&D, acts as a snare. And you say, oh, I pay 4 credits. And you win the game on the spot. This is a big philosophical question. The idea is, if you bring Snare and put it into a deck that you don't expect there should be a Snare in, because it maybe doesn't make sense to the game plan, but you just put it in there because you like Snare. And then the game is suddenly over. Who has a good time? Is it you? Did you have a good time where they accessed the card and then you said, oh, I guess I win? Or was it the opponent who spent 20 minutes making good decisions and then ran with 2 cards, which they couldn't have known would have killed them? Who's having fun here? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I think we need to think about this. And let's get back to this before I get too worked up. One snare in every deck. I had a great time. They flatlined on my snare. I don't like it. It really makes me feel like I wasted my time, It really does. Fun is entirely subjective. Yo, Kennelwin, I totally agree. People at the table will probably had the best time. I know. Actually, I had a conversation with the person I was teaching once. I don't get it. I don't get it. For what it's worth, this isn't exactly what happened, but it's something I'm thinking of. Like, this is something that doesn't show up on top tables, right? But like can happen at more casual tables. But I feel like if it happens at more casual tables, it's even more upsetting to some extent. I don't know. It's weird. Pat says, okay, at least one player at each event has to put Snare in the deck. As organizer is my responsibility. Pat was playing technically a Wayland deck that had technically a meat damage kill package, but people died to Snare against it. And then your response is, oh, okay, I guess I lose. It never feels like I won there. My opponent just got unlucky. Mr. Casino, how's it going? Count those pips on it. Yo, Rob, you can't count all the pips. How's it going, man? It's good. It's good to hear from you. When salt lasts nearly a whole week. Dude, I've had to take so many cold showers in the middle of the night. I'm waking up just being absolutely upset. I agree, though. Random snares are frustrating. It's like Snare is such a cool card in Netrunner until it's like not, I can hear under my head, do we need to respect Snare here? Yeah, right? No, you don't even bring the question up. I'm with you on this. Thank you. Your support is very much appreciated. I think if you brought Snare in your own deck, you sometimes get a fun little surprise when the runner hits it out of the blue. I feel like everyone gets robbed. Like everyone feels awful in that situation. Like, oh, I won. And then, oh, I lost. Like, who feels good? The only thing I hate mostly is APOC combo deck. Oh, yo, you're not going to like this list then. I'm so sorry. I'm staring at a deck that shouldn't have a snare is some bullshit. I know. It's a thing. You must declare your snares at the door. Yes, I like this. I'm okay with this. I think you should say. But that's the thing. Even if you said it, it's worth it because it slows the game down. I don't know. The deck also includes 3 archers and a gank. That would have hit me actually way worse. I did play 3 ganked. I'm also going to have another side thing here, and this is too big of a conversation to really get into, but I have realized, and this is a problem. I've spent a lot of time thinking about what happened on Saturday, and I had a good time. I hope we do it again. I really had a good time, but I get frustrated now. I don't know what's happened. I think I've become a bitter, jaded person, but I show up and I brought 2 decks, right? I brought 4 decks. I brought 2 decks that I thought were more competitive and 2 decks that I thought were more casual, right? And then I ask my opponent before I start, do you want to play the casual deck or the competitive deck? And I don't know how to do that without sounding like a total jag, right? Like, hey, do you want to do easy mode or hard mode? Teehee, like, feels really weird. Probably shouldn't do that. And then secretly, then I'm looking at them and be like, oh, you're the hard mode deck, or like, oh, I'm gonna get you in my Urtica Cipher deck. Like, I don't know how to deal with that. But the other thing I learned is that I get frustrated when I'm playing a deck that I know is bad and I just have limited options, right? And I think a big part of that's just trying to figure out what the field is, right? I don't know if people were going to bring competitive decks or not. And I think a lot of people did bring competitive decks. And then I was playing Restoring Humanity, which was a choice I made earlier that day. So I don't know what to do, but I think like my favorite game I had on all Saturday was playing competitive deck against competitive deck. I was like playing PD with 3 ganked in it, and I had 2.5 infinite gank loops, and I had a good time, and I think my opponent did too, which was wild. I need to find a pack of snare sleeves. On my son's first tournament, the only games he won were from snare hits like that. It really helped him to gain confidence if he could win against better players who were maybe not taking him so seriously. Chris, that is really cool. I'm into that. I feel like the bigger issue here is I get upset when I lose. I feel like winning is so important to me, which is just a horrible look. And I just need to realize it doesn't matter if I die to snare. That's on you, I guess. Pat just wrote, I just find it funny. Based on this and the snare thing, sounds like we should just compare lists and decide who wins on paper. Yes, I think if you built the best list and if you can show your credentials, they're like, oh, I've won more tournaments, you probably shouldn't have to play. I think that's how it works. I just find it that you brought Gank to Encel. That was my competitive deck. You had to ask for that to happen. Describe it as a meta or off meta, because meta is typically competitive field and off meta. Oh, Xandorius, that's actually a really good way to not sound like a jag. Tataki, how's it going? Maybe my meta is terrible, but I just assume the snare in every deck. Yo, man, I'm not envious of that meta. Like finding the pepper in the candy dish. Oh, damn, that's awful. Netcooker, how's it going? I played Jumpstart recently and got PE. I won when runner multi-axis HQ installed one agenda, took a damage, and access fetal AI and died. So Netcooker, I think that's dope though, because when I play PE, I run those calculations. Be like, okay, if it's 2 snares, I'll die with this jailbreak if I'm access with like 6 cards in hand, right? Or 4, because you draw it with jailbreak. But I respect that. You expect there to be a snare there. You're making smart decisions. Janky or rogue deck, not non-competitive. Yeah, Macintosh, I think that's a way better way of talking about that. Yeah, I think that's a good point. In fighting games, newer players make non-optimal moves all the time, and good players compensate by playing safer and not assume optimal plays. Should be the same in Netrunner. That's actually like a huge advantage. I know when Maddie started playing Netrunner, the way that you know how we all do like install advance, go, right? Like that's how we play Pollen and Glacier. She would do just outsider art stuff, right? Like just install advance Nisi Mark II. And so I don't run it because it looks like an NGO front or no Bacado. And then she scores it out. And it's an Nisi Mark II. I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to lose this. I'm going to lose this really bad. Like this is getting out of hand really quickly. And that sort of stuff, like not being able to read someone is a huge deal in this game. Like the more competitive, the more like plugged into the meta someone is, the easier they are to read. And it's a huge issue. So like there's a really big edge to that. Winning is important to me too, except at Netrunner. Also, if I bring snare to this casual event and immunizes players against it later, I know roasts don't usually involve the roasted talking back. No, that's fine. You can do it. Assume every card is a snare. Stop being so greedy, you big nerd. I'm okay with this. Look, I don't think this is flattering. I just wanted to talk about it. And I think ultimately the answer to all of this is that there's something wrong with me and I'm okay being vulnerable about it. Okay? Just jumping in the stream to say hi. My work schedule has changed to work Friday, so I can't watch stream anymore. Can't wait to watch the VOD though. Heart. Yo, Jingles, sorry about that. Hopefully that's a better work schedule for you at least. Thanks that you can make it a drop by. I really appreciate it. Okay. You're a very nice man. Oh no. Diogene playing his PE grinder deck, and I'm like, I'm not having any fun here. I'm here to win. I had a good time. I honestly did. It was great. I mean, not gonna lie, I wonder all the time when you install advanced click for credit why you have a 4-2 since you basically just wait to click to broadcast it's a 4-2. Yeah, no, install advanced 4-2 is like legitimately great because then you can do something next turn, like put something into the remote server. I'm a big proponent of it. But yeah, no, it's caught me off guard. It's all very Canadian. You gotta look at your opponent's soul and figure out if they're gonna play an off-color snare. Okay, good. You've been warned. His name is Patrick Sklar. He's well known in specifically the West Coast for some reason. So just, keep the hand thick. We had a similar discussion at our meetup earlier this week about PvP is fun if you know the threats. They're going for something janky. And they're going for something janky. Yeah, maybe it's true. Lost my first game in Netrunner to random snare access. My friend and I had to look up the rules to make sure the game was just over. Immediately played another and another. That's true though. Like I think as my first game, when I died to snare, my thought was, oh, that's cool. Let's do it again. But like, oh, you get old and jaded. Let me tell you, it only gets worse. It only gets worse. He's practically a celebrity. All right. Oh, yo. Okay. This is a perfect transition. Personal evolution. Jinteki personal evolution. I'm going to open up the original art for those who might not be as familiar, who did not pick up the System Update 2021 art, has been banned. This has been banned. And the conversation on what Jinteki can do or should do or how you should play Jinteki, continuing off what we just last said, no, we were talking about like HB and Wayland, is a really big deal. So personal evolution has been around since day one, and it says whenever an agenda is scored or stolen, do 1 net damage. And personal evolution is just the darling to so many players in Netrunner because it's the one identity that almost regardless what meta it is, whether it's competitive or not, you can always install advanced something at a remote server and then you have a game. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how good their deck is or their skill. It just generally can work and is also pretty fun. If you like bluffing, you like putting things, the shell game thing, install 3 cards face down, let's go. We use the word a lot, Yomi, which means, I think, the ability to supposedly read your opponent and know what they're going to do and then play with that ahead of time. I don't know, fighting games or something. And that's what P represented. But the problem is, and there's no way we're going to be able to talk about this. This is what it looks like without having a deck list. But the issue is, according to the folks on Nisei, there has been this deck that used to exist within Potential Unleashed. That was another Jinteki identity that came out during the Flashpoint cycle. It only had 12 influence, but it said whenever the runner takes a net damage, they also trash the top card of their deck. I actually don't know what Potential Unleashed says anymore. That seems right? And there was this deck that was actually quite competitive, in which all the deck would do is ice up all the central servers and click for credits. And you notice the runner generally has to play cards and draw cards to do something, so they would generally play and draw cards, and you would play a lot of inevitable net damage cards. And the net damage in this deck was twice as strong. Every 1 point of net damage is technically 2 points of net damage, and that deck would just basically get the runner till they have no deck left. And when they have no deck left, they can't run. They can't steal Obokata Protocol, which requires them to take 4 net damage to steal it, and the game is basically locked at that point. And that's all the deck did. It iced up everything. It played defensive upgrades. If the runner didn't run, they would score agendas from hand using a fast advance trick. We'll talk about it in a second. And that was that. Now, Potential Unleashed did get banned, and some of the other cards did get banned, but you can play the same deck within Jinteki Personal Evolution. Now, luckily, people didn't. People largely didn't. I think this deck only showed up competitively. I think Kenny Deacon, Simon Moon, played this at an event maybe 2-3 years ago and said that this is low-key still one of the best decks in the format, but nobody wants to play it. And the problem with how you play against this deck, it's very passive. Actually, like going for single accesses doesn't work. What a lot of times you want to do is just like click for credits, play as few cards as possible, and then hopefully have like a Stargate or something to close the game very quickly. It is a real snooze fest to watch on both sides of the table. It incredibly disincentivizes interaction, and it's not fun. One of the best things to do in that game, and that's the problem, is why it's so good. A lot of people didn't know how to play against it. I remember at Canadian Nationals 2016, 2017, I forget the name of the dude, but he was a really nice dude coming in from Michigan. I played this guy also at Canadian Nationals 2 years prior, was playing this deck as well. And like the best thing you could do, unfortunately, was just not run. Like you would just set up, and I was watching people play, and it's so easy to, stand not having to worry about the pressure of playing on top tables and be like, oh, I think the person's misplaying this. But all you're meant to do is like just set up. That's it. That's all you do. Set up, hopefully get down a turning wheel, build up enough turning wheel counters, and win in one run before they deck out. This is Someone eating a potato. So this is a list, largely. It ran very few agendas, 3 Obokata protocol. It ran all the net damage it could. Jinteki potential unleashed, mind you, did say whenever the runner takes a net damage, trash the top card of their stack, so double damage. It would run all 3 Hokusai grids, so that every run on a central server would be 2 damage, and you have to trash these somehow. It ran archive memories just to recur the garbage over and over again. It ran arc lockdown, so if you lost the Levy AR lab access, the one big reset card, it's gone. If you lost a breaker that was important, it's gone. It ran 3 Neural EMP, and then all the recursion in the game. Cards like Preemptive Action, cards like Wempo or Reclamation. On top of that, Shipment from Tenon, we'll talk about this today, but if they didn't run, which they can't afford to run every turn because they take 4 damage for a single damn run, they would fast advance out agendas like House of Knives, which represents 6 damage. And people just got ground out. People just got ground out. There was no way to deal with it. They ran really efficient ice cards like Kagugo, which basically say if you want to make a run, that's 2 damage. If you put 2 of these on R&D, that's 4 damage. It's 6 damage when you hit the Hokusai. Like, not a lot of smart decisions have to be made from the corp. From the runner, the smart decision is, I honestly don't know. I don't know. And this got banned out pretty quickly. And now it can still be rebuilt to some extent with personal evolution. And the folks at Nisei were worried about that. And I'm going to actually jump down to the bottom where they mention it, because it's actually pretty nuanced. Oh, here it is. I just want to catch up on chat real quick. Yo, Parallel, how's it going? Welcome. Please play Prison G. House Knights for Kagugo equals mill 30 cards. Yes, it was in some cases unbeatable. Straight unbeatable. If you had tech, they counter-teched you, and you really needed tech. But again, interact as little as possible. Is the deck? Is that the deck that was called Potatoes? If so, why? I don't know why it was called Potatoes. I'm not sure. I always love Project Gila Hands install on a remote OG games. Yo, Joda, hey, I did love PE Gila Hands. It's worth noting I played PE as like my first deck that I brought to like public Netrunner. Is I played PE. Why did you open Newshound? Andre, are you in Nisei adjacent enough that you're not allowed to identify the person in the picture? I actually. Oh, I see what you mean. Is that Young Eric? No, who is that? Is that Young Eric? No. Is it? It might be. We don't see his name around here. Anyways, so furthermore, this is what Nisei wrote. We want to address the Jinteki faction. Since the ban of Engram Flush, it has lost its edge against many of the runners. Unbans in the Jinteki faction always run the risk of enabling grinder strategies. And this is probably a hyperlink to the Potatoes deck. Yeah, it 100% is. Okay, sick. Mainly played in Jinteki Personal Evolution. I want to find, because that deck list does exist, that is deck list with this card that we'll see Simon Moon posted. And you'll see the deck list. It's like pretty similar. Where were we? We have tried a variety of unbans to help the faction during previous ban list testing cycles, none of which have ever made it to the final list because of oppressive decks appearing in PE. For that reason, we have now decided to ban PE in order to enable unbanning of other powerful cards, Kakugo and Shipment from Tenon. So the idea is that they wanted to give Jinteki something, and Kakugo and Shipment for Tenon were the few of the things that they could give them. They're the very few banned Jinteki cards. They didn't want to unban Mati, which kind of makes sense, I guess. But they couldn't give you all these pieces and allow personal evolution at the same time, because if that was the case, you would build this grinder strategy. So basically what Nisei is saying is that we want to give you something, but we can't give you PE at the same time we're going to give you this. Now, unfortunately, PE hasn't been a competitive deck on competitive tables for a long time. But unfortunately, it's the darling of many casual players, myself included. So this is kind of just like, collateral damage that happened. We wanted to give Jinteki something to hopefully make them start showing up on top tables. And mind you, Jinteki hasn't shown up at any top table for the last couple of months. They did come close. I think they had like a 9th or 10th finish on Ag Infusion Glacier stuff. But to give them something, we had to take away something. But this is really important. We intend to reconsider these changes in the near future, as Borealis was designed with PE in mind. So the Borealis, if you don't know, is the upcoming cycle. It's also the name of the first half of the cycle. It's not confusing. But the idea is that PE is supposed to exist when Borealis comes out. So whenever that comes out, hopefully next year, there's a big chance that PE will be unbanned after Worlds. Maybe that means we'll have to reconsider Kakugo and Shipment from Tenon, but basically they're saying we want to give something competitive to Jinteki to hopefully make sure that they show up, but we have to take something away. So Jinteki keeps dying for the sins of other factions. Yeah, to some extent. Well, not entirely. Maybe for Engram Flush, yes. But I think the problem with Engram Flush is that the influence is too low. SFT is fun, but I'd rather have PE than Kakugo. Yeah, maybe. Interestingly enough, they published a list that you can try out. Like, they published a grinder list. YPE was banned? No, they published one officially, right? Yeah, playtest RH Grinder. So we can try that today. Anywho, so while this was banned, they did unban 2 things, and they're Kakugo and Shimmer from Tenon. So Kakugo is an ice that I have, it's been a problem. I've been really upset with this ice, and this ice really strong ice should exist. And the issue with Kakugo is that Kakugo just does net damage regardless. 4 for 1 strength, 1 subroutines means you basically break this for 1 credit with almost every fractor in the game, but that's not the reason why you play it. The reason why you play this is it is unstoppable damage. It's unavoidable outside of tech. There's not that much tech. It's like Caldera, pay 3 credits to not take net damage. So 4 credits to break this is probably reasonable. Now, the big reason I don't like Kakugo is that there were so many matchups in which we have played on the channel in which there's 2 Kakugos on one central server, 1 Kakugo on the other central server, and a lot of times the best strategy you have is don't run. It's wait for them to put something in the remote server, wait for them to do something, and those games are very boring to play and probably also to watch. I don't love that this card can allow this very defensive play where they just board up central servers and that's kind of it. So I don't love that. But now Kakugo is back, and hopefully without the inherent net damage of Personal Evolution, it's not going to be as strong as it once was. Because in Personal Evolution, your cards really do matter. If you need to spend 5 credits to steal an Obokata Protocol, losing 7 cards through the Kakugos on HQ is going to be an issue. So this card is back, and I think if you'll see this, you're going to see it in one of 2 things. You're going to see it in a grinder deck similar to Potatoes, but probably a lot less strong, which could still exist. We'll have to check for that. But on top of that, you're going to see it in Glacier decks, because this is honestly a taxing piece of ice, specifically when combined with 2 other cards, Snare and Obokata Protocol, and those are very good cards right now. Kakugo also is a very strong card against combined with 2 or 3 other cards right now in the card pool. Firstly, this is going to take net damage. So Apocalypse is a really strong card right now, and it's actually a really, it makes it hard to sometimes play Jinteki Glacier because you have to protect centrals and your remote server. And the Kakugo has a big chance of hitting that card from hand. There's a big chance that your Apocalypse is going to get hit on one of those runs on central servers. If you have to run through 2 Kakugos and still not hit that Apocalypse, that might be tricky. So this is actually a nice balancing switch to Apocalypse, which is also very prevalent in top tables. On top of that, there are ways to deal with this. I know that people are writing this in chat, but it's 1 strength, which is actually quite interesting because we're seeing Chisels show up. Chisel is a card that is actually really good at dealing with low strength ice, and we're seeing this actually see play in the Virus Max deck. There's a chance that Anarchs are going to start playing Hippo as well, because Hippo is a really well positioned ice, or a really well positioned card against some of the NBN Glacier decks. And so that helps deal with this. Ice Destruction does inherently help with Kakugo, and it goes pretty far, because otherwise you spend 5 or 6 cards going through this. On top of that, the Corp can use this really well in a Glacier deck, right? Like we talked about Obokata Protocol. If you're trying to steal an Obokata, it's such a bummer that this isn't loading quickly. But if you're trying to steal Obokata Protocol and you have to go through the Kakugo, mind you, multiple times sometimes with the new Anoetic Void, Mana Garb Skunkworks on top of that, like that can be actually quite difficult. And we've seen those Obokata Kakugo Data Loop decks played out of Plana actually do pretty well. Kakugo is just a good card. Like, it's hard for criminals to deal with this because their cards in hand are generally pretty good. It's just a good piece of ice. Now, the one issue about this card and the one big liability about this card is just it's a 4 credit end the run, which is almost unheard of in Netrunner right now. There's very few decks, looking at you, Funhouse, that want to spend a lot of credits for just an end the run because you don't do anything to the runner. They can just check out and choose not to take any real penalty from that. You just went down 4 credits. On top of that, and we'll get to that, right now Turning Wheel is a really strong card in the meta because of another inclusion, and Turning Wheel can bounce off the Kakugo over and over again and build up Turning Wheel counters to potentially close out a game. Here's Chisel. Here's Obokata Protocol. Now, we did see, there was actually a cool potato deck, give or take, that ran Georgia Emilioff as a way to deal with the bounce off of the Kakugo over and over again in a grind deck. I don't know if we're that far into like the Turning Wheel versus that we have to go that far, but there are ways to deal with it. So I'm interested to see whether Glacier decks will actually pay Kakugo, because 4 credits for an end run isn't amazing, but the tax on this is legitimate. The way that it deals with Apocalypse is legitimate, but otherwise it's kind of like a mixed bag. Shipment from Tenon, honestly, is actually quite interesting as well. So this is a card that says if you haven't made a successful run on their last turn, you can play 2 advancements on a single card, which means you can do install, advance, Shipment from Tenon, and score a 3-2 or 3-1 out from hand. Passion meta. Hold on, I'm just going to catch up on chat. Kakugo equals Apocalypse nerp? Yeah, Toke's, yeah, largely, huh? Unpopular opinion, they should bring back the restricted list. The argument that it was a barrier for new players isn't relevant anymore due to startup. The unicorn minigame is fun and it makes balancing the meta so much easier. I do agree that like the ban list is a bit more elegant, but the restricted list allowed more nuance and more levers to be pulled. I do like the fact that Nisei has been unbanning cards, so maybe we don't need it, but you're definitely right that the restricted list is does allow a lot of help. Like the idea is like you can have Obokata or a Kuguo, or you can have Kuguo or Shipment, like, you know, a lot more things you can control. Any excuse for Chisel, love that card. Yeah, right? To be fair, I wanted to forget it because every time I run into it's been 7 credits to die to Hunting Grounds. Oh, Data Loop, yes. I feel like most crims are Steve now. Grinder will be harder against them. I did play Steve this weekend against Personal Evolution, and I redrew like 10 cards. It is a really big deal. You don't want to run every turn against Grinder, so Grinder also counters what Steve wants to do. Yeah, it's probably one of the better identities against it, but yeah. Skunk or Void. This is Georgia. And that, okay, so Shipment from Tenon was played in all of these potato decks because if the runner isn't running, because we talked about how running is a bad thing to do when you take 4 damage for a single run, they would just score stings out of hand. Now, that deck can now still exist out of Restoring Humanity or Pilana or something like that. So be it. That is something to worry about. The 3-2 agendas right now in Jinteki are largely blank. You do have whatever the one that was printed in System Gateway is called. I don't remember. It's okay. It's actually really good in a grinder deck, interestingly enough. You also have Sting. Still have Sting. You have Shipment from Tenon, and Sting is actually really good in the list as well. But we actually did see this card in other decks. I don't know who it was, but I remember, was that Andreas? I remember commentating a game in Worlds a couple years ago in which there was a corporation that ran a Pilana list that was running like mid-range Glacier, like straight up Glacier, but also ran Shipment from Tenon and ran a couple of the 3-2s. At that time, it was whatever the terrible 3-2 that existed that did nothing in Jinteki. But the idea was that list ran 4 2s, but it also ran Shipment from Tenon and some 3-2s. So it could get to 5 points and then just close the game out of nowhere. And that deck ran good ice. It ran Anansi, right? It ran the things that you kind of expect. The ice on Jinteki Glacier has gotten a fair bit worse. A large swath of it has been banned out last year. But I think Shipment from Tenon honestly could even see play as maybe a 1-of or a 2-of, as long as the agenda suite supports it. If you play a Longevity Serum and maybe you start playing a Shipment from Yagi Uda, but that honestly there could be some sort of mid-range that threatens fast advance, that ices up all centrals and makes it hard for the runner to run every turn. Again, this thing is tricky to clot out. Install advanced, they have to clot immediately, which means you have some play with NGO friends, stuff like that. But 409 ban Saraswati stocks rising. But I think this card's honestly kind of interesting and is somewhat playable outside of prison decks, which is fascinating. For 3 influence too, like I don't know whether you want to play this over Audacity. The problem is like a lot of the HP fast advance decks won't stop people from running every turn, but it is kind of a cool card. You've seen this out of faction, other factions before, but this is a potentially very exciting card. But that's Jinteki. We got 2 cards back that actually do breathe life into a lot of archetypes, but the cost of it was losing Personal Evolution for hopefully only a couple months. And I kind of agree with that. It's a bit of a bummer, but I'm the kind of guy who gets frustrated when I lose to PE online. So what did you think I was going to think, you know? Longevity Serum. Yeah, thank you. Can Saraswati be good yet? I love that idea. Probably no. But that's because what Saraswati does, other cards do better. Right? Like you have Seamless Launch, you have Lacosta Grid. There's almost no reason to play it. On top of that, like just the value you're meant to get from Saraswati is somewhat comparable to things like Pilana. Like it's not that different. Hey, well, and I've been really getting into bed recently. I don't know what that means. Hopefully you're sleeping a bit earlier. How you doing, Wayne? Yeah, NGO doesn't work in Saraswati. It makes me sad. Yeah, NGO is like the worst part of Saraswati for sure. All right, and we have 2 other things on the corp. I think I've already opened these, and that's Asmari EdTech and Gagarin. And this is, again, if you're new to the game, you might not know about these, so we're going to talk about this and give you some context. Don't you love when you drink water really close to the microphone and you have to hear it? It's really pleasant for everyone. Asmari EdTech was the first 40 NBN ID? I don't know, but it's an NBN identity that was actually banned relatively quickly. It came out in the Katara cycle, got banned probably slightly after the Katara cycle. Did Nisei ban this? I don't know. I think so, yeah. But this deck has been quite strong. Doesn't Asmari basically push out R+ as a small NBN deck? Yes. Well, if you care about tags, if you don't care about tags, 100%. If you care about tags, maybe still. And Asmari eventually got banned for 2 reasons. Firstly, this 40 is something that we're more actually used to when it comes to System Gateway. All the identities in there are 40. But 40 is very interesting because that means you only have to play 18 to 19 agenda points, which means you can actually run 6 3-pointers. And back in the day, these Asmari decks ran some really good 6 3-point agendas. I actually don't know what they were. The old Asmari decks used to run SSL endorsement, and what was the other agenda? Was it just re-education? Bologna wasn't out at that time. But the idea is that this deck ran, you need to get half their agendas, and their agendas were very good. And with installed advanced events being the main way that you had to, like, that's how you scored your agendas. That means NGO fronts were huge bluffs. You could also run other traps if you really needed to, and it ran like really good Glacier. Asmari EdTech back in the day was when like things like Surveyor were really popular. That was, I think, before Boomerang. Surveyor did something. I think that was slightly before Boomerang. And also, we'll talk about the ability too, but it ran a really strong agenda suite. You'll notice something awkward too. If the runner has to steal 3 agendas, don't you have to score 3 agendas? But the answer is not really, because you had access to Gecko Chamber. Was it Degree Mill? I'm not actually sure what the other agenda was. Maybe it was Degree Mill. But the idea is that you could score 2 agendas, and then anytime a card went into a remote server, you had to be worried there was an Echo Chamber. Echo Chamber is an asset that says spend 3 clicks to add this to your score area. So any card that went into the remote server that had 3 ice, defensive upgrades sometimes, and a Surveyor could mean the game. So that was really scary, and it was a really strong agenda suite. You had to do more work than the corp did. The corp had really good ice, and that was hard. It was really hard to deal with. On top of that, Asmari has a really strong ability. When your turn ends, you may name a card type. For what it's worth, this is fun. Gain 2 credits the first time each turn the runner plays or installs a card that has the type you named the last way. This is almost guaranteed free money. The runner can go out of their way to stop you from getting the money on a certain turn, but it's hard to stop the corporation from getting money for the whole game. A lot of times what you'd do is if they named resource is you'd hold 3 resources and play them all on the same turn to get that out of the way. And then they start calling something else the next turn. So it's just a strong ability. Throughout a game, you'll end up getting more money probably than Reality Plus with doing less effort. Just because, the runner has resources in their deck. If they don't play them, you're winning. If they do play them, you're winning as well. On top of that, this was in the peak of scarcity of resources. Like currents were still a thing right now. 15 minutes seems like a nice finish for this sort of deck. Connor, I'd argue that you don't even need it. I think you actually might be better off without it. Those decks were a bit less, I think, willing to run 15 minutes because they didn't want to, because they had turntable existed back then, and turntable would have been absolutely disastrous if you lost a 3-pointer for 15 minutes. There's a chance maybe you can do it now. Like maybe you can run 5 3-pointers and then like 3 1-pointers. Like maybe you run 15 minutes in like quantum predictive model, but I'm pretty sure you can just run 6 3-pointers. So back in the day we had scarcity of resources. Did you just name resources all the time? Duke Dice. No, actually you named the opposite. You play scarcity of resources, which was a current. And then you claimed event. You named event. So basically you're saying if you want to play your resources, they cost 2 credits extra. And if you want to play an event to get money, you gain money. And they were just kind of forked really poorly. And this was just very strong. And some decks didn't run scarcity, and you're just put in a really hard place. Scarcity, never heard it pronounced that way. So scarcity is how I usually say it. Scarcity is how generally I've heard from the UK. And I kind of jump in between them. People also say Scary City, which is kind of fun. Or if you want to play another current to clear scarcity, yeah, you'd give them 2 credits too. It's just really difficult. Spooky town. Turn 1 scarcity and then naming events. Yeah, Solomir, exactly. That's how it was. And it was just strong. It was super oppressive. It was very oppressive, and eventually this got banned because it was very strong. And I think that was the only reason. It was just very strong. That was kind of it. Interestingly enough, this deck ran a lot of tracing ice with things like Surveyor. Newshound was playable back in the day, and I specifically always ran Geist. And it was pretty fun when you had like 2-link and you ran I was playing like 419 with like Power Tap or whatever. Oh man, it was a fun matchup for me. This is back. Interestingly enough, NBN Glacier is actually back in a big way. We're seeing people play Acme as a Glacier deck that's running big NBN ice and even some defensive upgrades. And now you have Asmari EdTech as well. I think both of them are definitely very playable. I reckon for if you play Acme, you have better ice. If you have Asmari, you have better economy. Now, the ice in Acme is actually quite good. The ice in Asmari is nowhere near as good as it used to be back in the day. Again, that deck lost Slot Machine. That deck doesn't have Data Raven anymore. Not that you always ran it. I think Surveyor is way worse than it used to be now with things like Botulus and Boomerang. So I don't know what the Ice Suite looks like, honestly, in this Mario tech, but it's it's definitely playable. There's some runner cards that also now exist that are going to have an impact on this, but this is interesting because there's another NBN Glacier option. Also, the Agenda Suite might be a problem. Again, we'll get to the runner cards soon, but it's interesting that this is back. And then our last thing is Gagarin. Is anyone happy about this? So Gagarin's a sort of deck that, okay, Gagarin, it's a Wayland identity. It got banned. And it says the additional cost to access a card in a remote server, the runner must pay 1 credit. There's not much to this. If you go back to decks as old as the old Hot Tubs deck, it is an asset spam deck that plays a lot of assets very quickly. And basically this text is akin to all your assets have their trash cost increased by 1. You'd play a lot of assets. You sometimes even play traps. You didn't usually have to. You would get a credit lead, and then because you're playing Wayland, you would do something like hard-hitting news, and then you'd kill them the next turn. And that was really strong. Now, interestingly enough, this deck has been proven to be very strong, but it's also a deck that a lot of people believe you can play well against, and it has a very hard time to close the game. If you have this sort of competitive minded deck that has very good economy, that is very able to keep your credits up and deal with the board state at the same time, this is generally not a runner favored matchup, but it's like not a bad matchup whatsoever. Maybe it's slightly runner favored. This is the sort of deck that was also stronger based off some other cards that existed back in the day. There's a lot of different ways to build Gagarin. Some play Fast Advance. Some will play, back in the day was SIU into Murder with things like Zealous Judge, and Zealous Judge is still banned. You can also do False Lead. You can just score out a false lead on the table, and then as soon as they take 2 tags and they're not playing Misdirection, they're generally dead. You can also just grind them with like Urban Renewals. There's a lot of ways to do this in Gagarin, but it honestly can be a bit flimsy. If they can't stick the table, they don't have a way to rebound like CTM does. Like they don't have sometimes traps or anything to catch you off guard. They're only running like 7 ice. The deck is really weak to Apocalypse, and I'd argue that it has no recourse to Apocalypse that it used to have some cards that were actually really strong against Apocalypse. I would like to say that Gagarin, for me, is no fun to play against, but that's not a reason why you should ban something. And I don't know. I honestly don't know. But the Ice Suite also got a bit worse too. They lost Tour Guide, right? And they don't have Hive for a while. So what are you running? You're running like 3 border control, maybe mouseless? I don't even know what you're doing. Huh. I mean, there's the one Wayland deck where you run 1 server and costs you to access, I think. I think you're thinking of Earth Station, which costs you 6 credits to make a run in certain circumstances for the remote server. I don't understand how you can criticize HNN and Gagarin except CTE existing. CTM? They're very similar decks. You're right about that. My main experience at Gagarin was encountering it at regionals where I didn't have any experience with the matchup. Yes. Oh my god. I've played some really, really grindy Gagarin decks, even at games at Worlds, where it's like Smoke, and she's holding the board, but she doesn't expect you to have a C-Source, and then you trash her like Netmarker, and the game is like 40 minutes, and you have to use 2 tables. Yeah. Fully operational? Connor, a lot of times fully operational doesn't work in this sort of deck, because this sort of deck wants to run like 26 assets, but like 5 ice. Or 6 ice maybe. So it's not the sort of thing. Like you get enough value with things like, Spin Doctor now is a better card draw card. You can actually run CSR campaign, ? Rashida, stuff like that's just better. Apocalypse is really the only thing to put in its place. Yeah, Apocalypse is a really big deal. Again, just playing Val, having that 1 credit basically means this is a blank identity. So it's, it's a mixed bag. It's so much worse without Museum or Judge. Yeah, that's true. It doesn't have this sort of recursion. Back in the day, this used to run Museum of History, which allowed you to recur cards from your trash pile to the bottom of your deck, and it would be a real prison. Now you actually can trash everything. I don't know if this is super competitive. I don't think it is. I do think it's going to stomp, like, it can be strong in Swiss, but it's the sort of deck that if it makes it to top tables, I'd be very surprised if it wins. Specifically also with open deck lists, right? Like, you know how to deal with this, and it doesn't have any tricks that are unfair, as opposed to just like getting a huge economic lead, barring somebody finding out a list that like can very quickly and very reliably score out like a false lead, and that's somehow an issue to, maybe 2/3 of the field, maybe. Gagarin used to be on like whatever combination Museum plus Hades Fragment plus 1 Poe you could get, so you didn't play with agendas in your deck. For real though, Rakete, we also now have Drudge work, which I guess shuffles the deck, so that's not amazing. Yeah, Drudge work isn't enough, says Anarcho. I believe it. I think this list was posted also by the, again, and we've said this before, the fact that the Nisei Banlist team posted the stuff that they've been testing slaps so hard. But I think most of them said that, I think the Wayland list isn't very good, the Gagarin list. Interesting enough, they also did the Rococo, which is another fast events way, which is doing it. It's super interesting unban. Nice to see before it rotates. Yeah, it's an interesting unban. And like, there's a chance that I love the fact that they're unbanning cards. Even if this has no impact on the meta, whatever. You can play with it if you want. I will get salty on JNet Casual. That's fine. Doctor is here now, and the last time it was alive, Jackson was rotated, plus DBS is still around, but yeah, it'll be weaker, yeah. So what abusive combos still exist with Gagarin? I don't think there's anything that's absurdly strong. I think SIU is potentially good, but you don't have a lot to do with a single tag. So I honestly don't know. Rococo could possibly be strong. That's the reconstruction contract. You could run like Pad Factory and then move them all to Unbanned Construction Company and then do traps. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot going on. JNet Casual will hate it, but it's not going to make a dent in top tier competitive standard. I stand around there too. Great, we can play value Gagarin. You know what? It's actually interesting. If you put a lot of upgrades in a remote server. Okay, so we have just the runner cards, and let's start here. 419's banned. Great. 9 out of 10. 419 out of 10. 419's been around for a while, and 419 is a very strong ability. It just costs, you have a link, which is thematic as heck, but you end up paying a lot of money to this ability. It makes Amakua even stronger. It means people are playing more expose, which is not fun. And it's gone. And you don't have to deal with it. There's so many matchups in which we've been on this channel and we're playing a deck that we know is not tier 1. And then we play against a tier 1 419. And we just simply don't have the economy to deal with this. And the problem with 419 is it's a very hard thing to balance. This came out in the Katara cycle, so it's going to be around in competitive for a really long time. And you need a very good reason to play Criminal and not play 419. The ability is just consistently impactful, which is really funny because when this card came out, I did not think it was good because I thought, oh, everybody plays this. Like, you on a competitive table, you know what the HB deck is playing. Like, you're going to figure out if it's a vanilla or Fairchild. Who cares? You're going to run first click. Like, and that was not correct. My sweet Titan child. Clown card Gagarin with the Overseer Matrix. Yeah, yo, don't stop there. Fractal Thread Matrix. I think that's what it's called. Banning 419 seems weird. Unless I'm mistaken, there's not a lot of taxing stuff for 419. I'm not sure what you mean, Duke Dice. What do you mean by taxing stuff? I'm glad that we don't see 419 anymore. I think now there's actually going to be more interesting decisions, and maybe interesting isn't the right call, whether you're playing Steve or whether you're playing Zaya. I don't think it's a big difference in the list. Maybe you play more run events when you play, I don't know, Steve. But this is a really big deal for other criminals. It's also a really big deal now because you can play your JNet casual game and not have a super robust economy and not just get stomped. I think specifically last week we were playing, and I was like, I exclaimed in the middle of the match, it's like, you know how many things we have to do against this deck? We have to make sure that we're not exposing our stuff so they have 300 Amakua counters. We have to make sure that we're not getting diversion of fund on turn 2 to 8 because then our game is over. And we still have to figure out how to score on a remote server around Inside Job and Boomerang and still have money. Like, it's just wild. And you still have to do a lot of that stuff against Criminal, and maybe the problem was we were not playing a competitive deck, but I'm glad to see this guy go, which is a shame because he has some really good alt arts. Oh yeah, yo, we haven't talked about it. Have you seen the FFG alt art for Hugo? So good. It's so good. See ya, 419. With 419 leaving, how does that change the meta? Well, honestly, trap decks are a bit better if people are playing less exposed. You don't actually see a lot of the exposed cards showing up within other criminals, so you can bluff maybe a bit more. I don't know if that's very relevant. There's also a chance that Amakua is going to see slightly less play. You don't see Amakua as often in the other criminal lists, and I think you could probably start playing them now, but Amakua has just been good. I think there's also a chance that 419 was one of the criminals you're most likely to play Citadel Sanctuary in, so controlling the message. And actually, that's a really big deal. I think one thing that 419 was also very good against, it slowed down horizontal decks. Like, controlling the message knowing what you have to run and have to not run, like that slowed them down. Gagarin 419 was a nuisance, especially in the early game. And the early game is so important to some of those lists, specifically Gagarin, where they can really snowball if you don't trash the right things or you don't slow them down. So not having to pay an extra credit a turn can be a really big deal for some of these decks that don't have a very robust economy in the early to mid game. So that actually is worth watching. But again, not having this linked runner can be a big deal for some ice that you might or might not be considering. That means Citadel Sanctuary might be less likely to show up, which is important for tags and beat damage strategy, but just installing cards is going to be cheaper. Dane, now instead of APOC Max Lu and 409, it's just going to be APOC Max Lu. Hi, Andre. I don't know exactly about that. How's it going, Dane? We'll see. We'll see. I think some of the other inclusions are pretty interesting. I'm so glad they banned Mati years ago, huh? I have high hopes for Apocalat with the other M-bans. Yeah, okay. Mufasa, how's it going? Another live, welcome. It's more or less a one. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Not on top of the meta, but this is a lot nicer than trying to cut Amakua. Yeah, Amakua is a fun card. Like Amakua is a fun card. It's interactive. There's like this meta game, and it encourages you to be, I don't know, kind of like Amakua. It was just a bit more annoying with 419. Like, there's not a lot of ways to hinder the corpus 419. Like take away money, unless I'm mistaken. There's a lot. You have diversion of funds, which is a really big deal. You deal with ice really well with Boomerang or Inside Job. I think Xayah is pretty strong still, can definitely get momentum with multi-access and gaining credits. My issue with Xayah is she is really boring. Xayah is super boring. Like, give me a Steve match. Say it's like top tables and you get to see some of the best Netrunner players play against each other. I would so much rather watch someone play Steve, where they're like setting up their heap and they're running and they're making two really good decisions that the opponent spends like, 20 seconds trying to figure out which sure gamble they should banish. No, but I'm serious. Xayah is just like, she's good for new player experience, but like, run R&D, gaining credit. Cool. I mean, I get the 419 is super strong by far the best crim, but I'm not sure if banning it means other crim IDs. I think they will. I think there's some good reasons to still play criminal. So that's okay, but I don't know if it's slightly better Gabe is what people bring to tourneys. He's flexible. 40 card deck's also like, something that's easy to understate. Now gonna be Xayah with pad taps. Yeah, we'll get to pad tap. Pad tap actually is, I think, a really big deal. I think pad tap is one of the bigger deals. Okay, Encore. This is the only Shaper card. If I'm not mistaken, there may be only one Shaper card that's currently banned. And I don't know if this is going to breathe enough life into Shaper, but this is Encore. It got banned. It's one of those quest completed cards. It says you only play this after you made 3 successful runs on every single central server. Good luck, Kukugo says. Take an additional turn after this one. Remove Encore from the game instead of trashing it. Okay. So, first thing, could a runner play 2 Encores on the same turn? They ask. And impishly, Michael Boggs flutters his eyes and says, if the runner has enough clicks on a single turn to run successfully on RD, HQ, and archives, and play 2 Encores, then the runner takes 2 additional turns after that one. Take all the turns you want if you have enough clicks. Encore is largely a combo card. People haven't played Encore as like a tempo thing, because it doesn't make that much sense, right? Like, you're spending a lot of effort running servers that you probably don't want to run. If you run like R&D, HQ, archives, and you say, okay, I'm just getting another turn, Rizaki click for 2. Like, that's not a good use of your time. But this was played in these sort of Shaper combo decks, which right now seems like the only Shaper deck that's being pushed by this sort of list. And these are the pseudo like diaper lists. Diaper is a word we'd be using so often. That's a portmanteau of hyperdriver and DDoS. Oh, almost got away from me. And the idea is that you just play a ridiculous combo turn and they lose. You basically run all 3 central servers, you blow up their board with Apocalypse. We'll stare at this white screen for a bit. And then you took 2 turns in a row in which you win the game. And then abstractly still exists. Imagine you had 5 clicks, either by getting free runs with cards like Out of the Ashes, which people are playing in Apocalypse lists, or you have Beth Kilrain Chang, one of the best Shaper cards, enduring forever. And you ran all 3 central servers, you played Apocalypse, and you gave yourself another turn. At this point, you can drop down a conduit and just run R&D unfettered for 4 clicks, maybe 5 clicks if you have another Out of the Ashes or something like that. On top of that, maybe you played 2 in a row, and now you can run R&D and you access, 9, 10 cards. Hopefully you can figure out a way to win. Maybe you have a conduit. Maybe you have that other card, interdiction. What's it called? No, equivocation. So they end up drawing a lot. But that's the idea, and you see this deck wants to make a bunch of runs. It has Out of the Ashes, which is free run.card. You apocalypse them. Then you get down your conduit clicklessly because you're a shaper or something. And then you can contaminate it, and then hopefully you win the game. There are other ways to do this. We don't have Stargate anymore, unfortunately. Maybe fortunately, excuse me. We don't have Keyhole anymore. Stargate's only once per turn, so it's a bit trickier. But this sort of combo deck abstractly exists. Does anybody else consider playing Encore? No. No? Housekeeping. I wish Apocalypse was Apex only. A lot of these cards were really under influence costed. Yo, I agree with you 100%. And we had this conversation in our like Montreal Slack. My biggest problem with Apocalypse, I don't want Apocalypse to be banned because I think it is a huge like, you know, release pressure switch to possible metas. And it is very good and something you have to respect, which is interesting. But it's 3 influence, which is like, you know, the same amount of influence as self-modifying code or paperclip. Like, it just doesn't make sense thematically to me. This should have been a 5 influence card. If it was Apex only, I think you still wouldn't play Apex. It would basically be a blank card for competitive players because Apex is just not worth apocalypsing. So yeah, give me Event Lord Steve every day over my cards are 10% more efficient anything. Yeah, I agree with that. I totally agree with you. I may have a list for you. Excuse me. I think Zaya's pretty strong. Zaya's okay, but I don't know if it's slightly better, Gabe. I've read that. Reg Blue is literally just different degrees of boring. Changed my mind. Yes, it's fundamentals. It can be boring. Anywho, enjoy Shapers. I honestly don't know what Shapers is doing competitively. This is more influence than Apocalypse. This card is more influence than Apocalypse. And I think the designers thought wiping your whole board would be like, I'm not going to do that. I've played all of these toolboxes. Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. Okay, and now I think the 2 more interesting cards that have been unbanned, and I think this is the most important card to be unbanned, is Mad Dash. It is a neutral run event with no influence. Anyone can play this. Make a run. Sick. When this run ends, add a Mad Dash to your score area as an agenda worth 1 agenda point if you stole at least 1 other agenda during the run, otherwise suffer 1 meat damage. This suffer 1 meat damage thing I don't believe is relevant anymore. It just means that it's not smart, quote unquote, to just run R&D turn 1 with this thing. But this card is a really, really, really big deal. Oh, big boost to Adam. Oh, man. Isn't Consume 5 influence? Yes. Extern. I think the other 2 Apex cards that were printed after were both 5 influence. Okay, so Mad Dash is amazing. And there's so many reasons why this card is amazing. And I think one of the biggest things you're going to see is which deck can abuse this the most at Worlds, because that deck is going to be doing pretty good. So fake agenda points are really, really, really strong. We talked about how fake agenda points are really, really strong for the corporation when it came to things like Vastron, rest in peace. But now Mad Dash is the same sort of idea abstractly for Runner. Classically, there were 2 cards that existed, Mad Dash and Freedom Through Equality. That exist as these fake agenda point cards, and they have a huge amount of power in the meta. Because if we want to talk about, and I wish I could open decks quickly to talk about this, but like if we talk about some of the decks in the meta, you realize that is a huge deal. Right now, Precision Design, the standard agenda suite that they are running, is a bunch of 2-pointers and then 2 global food initiatives, which is only worth 2 agenda points to the runner. So on that setup, the runner needs to find and steal 4 out of, 7 agendas in the deck? No, it's like 8 agendas in the deck. I think it's 8 agendas, 9 agendas in the deck. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I didn't count all my fingers. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Oh, Precision Design's a 40. Hold on. Rewind. 2, 4, 6, 8. What am I doing? What's the agenda suite? They're running 18, 12, 6. 8 agendas. Got it. I think it's 8 agendas. You need to steal 4 out of the 8 agendas in the deck to win. You need to steal half the agendas, while they only need to score 3 of them. They can score Global Food Initiative and any of the 2-point agendas. Mad Dash changes that math. If you can find out where an agenda is, you can win off 3 agenda scores, which is the difference from winning on turn potentially 7 and losing on turn 9, or literally you could say any number there. But if you win now, you don't lose. That's how it works. Mad Dash is so strong. It's very potentially strong. We talked about how like, ooh, look at our new Asmari that can run 6 3-pointers, but that's potentially a huge liability. If they're running 6 3-pointers and if the runner's running Mad Dash, now the runner can win in 2 agenda scores. That could happen on turn 1. Like, that's wild. On top of that, like, so the interesting thing about Mad Dash is you have to figure out how to play it, because if you access an agenda you have to steal the agenda unless the agenda has an additional cost, which is actually pretty relevant for some of the agendas you expect to see in these 3-point decks. The idea is that if you run R&D or archives, mind you, and you find a Bologna, you don't have to steal the Bologna. It has an additional cost, so you can say no thank you, and then you can mad dash it because you know it's there, as long as they don't have a way to shuffle R&D, which is relevant, and you can steal this for 4 points. That's better for you. And again, there's so many decks in which that mad dash is going to shave off 2 or 3 turns of the game and going to cause you to win or lose. Whether you're using this to run the remote server that you know you can get in, whether you know the agenda's in HQ or R&D or archives. And let's talk about all the ways that mad dash is very reliable. Okay, there's a bunch. There's a couple cards that are like such good combinations with Mad Dash, and they're already very good cards. The idea here is we're not playing bad cards to make Mad Dash good. Mad Dash is just good. Okay. I think it's loading good. It's loading good. Ooh, just imp things. Exactly. Imp is, I should open imp here. I'm gonna open imp here. It's not load. It's load. It's actually loading okay. Yo, thanks, NeverDB people. Oh, nailed it. Perfect. Let me just catch up. Here's the thing: you can play as Shaper since Mad Dash is basically back. Insight top hat. Yes, we'll get to that. Nailed it. 2 for 6 agendas. Ha 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 ha. I did this with SDS earlier today. Felt great. Yeah, SDS has an additional cost. APOC got 3 influence would need to be universally and objectively as good as Algernon, and Adam staple to warrant this 2+2 influence. Oh no. You mean pair with Stargate for all those struggling max and loot APOC decks? Yeah, APOC also is a good idea. Huh? Okay, so play 3 of them, fire them blind into centrals. No joke. I forget who it was, but we were at like a pretty high stakes. I think it was a Nationals. And there was a person playing like a self-damage deck. And they just turned one Mad Dash into R&D and then stole like an Obakata off the top or something ridiculous. Maybe they drew once because otherwise they would die. No, they wouldn't. They just Mad Dashed R&D into Jinteki damage deck and stole an Obakata off the top and were on 4 points. And the person they did that to was a Montreal player and they were so salty about it. Yeah, blind. Okay, so firstly, Stargate, already really good. Now it's better, and doubly so. Firstly, if you Stargate, get the agenda into archives, you know where to mad dash it. On top of that, if you know where it is on top of the deck, because you Stargated something else, you can mad dash R&D. So you can figure out which server is easier to run and mad dash it. And that's a really big deal about mad dash. Freedom through equality was a current, which is currently banned, pun intended. But the difference with mad dash is that you have to play this as a run event. So you can't play mad dash and Maker's Eye, because those are both run events, which was a difference between Freedom. So you have to figure out a way to get the actual run on mad dash to connect, okay? So firstly, Stargate, really great. Imp is also quite good, just a universally fantastic card this year, has been for a while, but if you access an agenda and you don't want to steal it, you can imp it to archives, mad dash archives, hopefully that wins you the game. Okay, that's most of Anarch, I think. I don't want to forget something. If we're talking about Criminal, I think Turning Wheel is the only really big thing that you want to keep in mind, but the idea is that you can build up Turning Wheel counters just consistently through the game, play that like classic 419 sort of list, not 419 anymore, and then you just mad dash HQ when you know they have an agenda, use 10 counters, you're going to 8 counters, and you're going to steal it. Mad dash, it works. Or you can just mad dash R&D with 5 counters and just pray. Like all that stuff will likely work. I think we're going to see a lot of Turning Wheel, a lot of mad dash. Again, play your Kukugos, am I right? Shaper is a bit weaker, but what you have right now is Insight. I think Spy Camera doesn't exist anymore, Jackson. I think it got rotated with our what's his name? Geist. Adam's poised with Mad Dash. Adam tearing up on JNet. I believe Adam too. This one is worth shouting out because this is not, many people haven't seen this anymore. This came out in Reign and Reverie and was actually a very hot deck for a while that was playing this. You play Insight as a double. The corp shows you 4 cards and then rearranges them publicly in order on top of R&D. And so if they put it on top, that's going to be a problem. But the idea is that you can also play Top Hat. So then you can Mad Dash R&D and say, I'm going to access the 4th card where you know they put the agenda and you can win or get maybe 4 points. Potentially quite strong. This one I think is the least reliable, and it's worth noting that a lot of these strategies are weak to things like Spin Doctor or anything that can shuffle the deck at instant speed. But this is potentially quite strong, and I think the last card that's really good with it is what's it called? Find the Truth, which is an Atom card. Oh, spec games are still legal. Oh wow, wait, really? Oh, it's a Unbanned. Sebastian, how's it going? Oh, sick. Okay, yeah, you're right, because like Tech Trader is still legal, right? I think Geist was released between cycles for some reason. Find the Truth is also immensely strong. You can see the top card of the deck. There is a chance you're actually going to see Find the Truth outside of Adam. There were some very competitive decks for a while that were just playing regular Anarch, things like Valencia, and played Find the Truth. I don't know if it's the right meta for that. There's a chance that things like precision design are still going to push the meta pretty quickly. That might not be a thing to do. But Find the Truth, Valencia, Rebirth into Omar, you have so much pressure. You know where the agendas are. You know what's on the top of R&D. You can mad dash pretty freely. That deck was really strong back then, might still be strong right now, and honestly might be. So this is a thing. Is Tech Trader as a thing? I've been told it is. I haven't seen it. I don't think it's like, it doesn't sound like a tier 1 thing, but it's probably a thing you could do and have fun with. We may return to that period where people were playing FDT RNG key outside of Atom. Yeah, I don't know. RNG key seems like a bridge too far to me, but yeah, I think it's totally playable. So I think that Mad Dash has the possibility to be one of the biggest cards to be added to Worlds this year. And again, I think the deck that's going to do well is the deck that's going to use Mad Dash, because there's almost no agenda suite that isn't in some way largely goofed up by Mad Dash, even unless you're running only 1-pointers, which you're not. You can run a deck that's only 1-pointers, right? Tech Trader as sounds a bit janky. Oh, 100%. It's probably silly, but it sounds fun. I played against a guy I met for the first time in our meta who was playing that sort of as stealth list. I think that was already published before. It used to be a deck list the weekend startup. Man, that deck is so cool. He played it really well too. Lastly, and this one's also incredibly strong, is Pad Tap, a 1 influence card that costs 0. That when you install it, the first time the corp gains credits through a card ability, you gain 1 credit, and it's cost 3 and a click to trash this thing. 3 and a click is a lot of money. That's basically like a 5 credit drain for the corporation, right? Because your clicks are generally worth more than a credit, so they have to spend a click and 3 credits, so that's like 5 credits. That's a huge swing. You just put this down, and it's going to give you money. This card was so strong, and for 1 influence for 0 install cost, this shows up everywhere, and there's a good reason, unless the meta is blazingly fast, that this will show up in just about every single deck. Maybe even Shaper. Maybe. Only 1-pointers just play PE. Oh, sorry, Dane. Hold on a couple months. Pad Tap, aka corporate sales team ban. Yeah, right. This card was so strong, and everybody was playing it to the point that, like, I don't know, got a bit too ubiquitous and a bit too strong, and it was slowing down corporations, so this got banned. Now that it's back, that's good. That's really good. Deck slots are getting a bit tight, but this thing is so strong against so many IDs. There's so many things that I don't want to play because Pad Tap exists. I don't think there's 9 1-pointers in standard. Essex, there must be, right? Hold on. Rotation? Agender? Where's Agender? Hold on. I've done this before. Agender? Oh, Acid? Okay. I hate Pad Tap so much. Played a runner that had 3 on turn 1, basically automated win. Oh, man. Is there a sort by point cost? Okay, this actually seems harder to do than I thought it was. Oh, it's listed on their credits. Yeah, maybe there isn't. I don't know. When Mad Dash being more common, think we'll see an increase in punitive Counter-Strike lists. Zendarius, I think we'll see the opposite. I think we'll see a decrease in punitive Counter-Strike lists, because punitive Counter-Strike lists are those sort of lists that are running only 3-pointers. And if you're running only 3-pointers, the runner can win, like, I don't know, as soon as turn 1, abstractly, like Stargate. You see 2 agendas, first and second, or first and third. You mill 1, you Mad Dash 1, you steal the other, right? Like, I think that's a bigger deal. Like, the idea that Mad Dash technically, actually Mad Dash is added. I don't know if Mad Dash is scored. What is the word on Mad Dash? I don't think Mad Dash actually changes much for punitive. Yeah, so you don't score it, so it's added to your score area. So it doesn't actually influence punitive. Is it G1 or V1? Excuse me. Did I goof it? Hold on. Where we had a search. Where was our search terms? Punitive hates a runner winning on 2 scores. Yeah, exactly. It lowers your windows, right? Like the idea with punitive as well, like they can skill 1 3-pointer and then just Mad Dash your second one and your game is over. You don't even have 2 punitive windows. So I'd assume it's incredibly the opposite. Okay, so cards that you don't want to play Pad Tap 2. Okay, let's start firstly, classically, Pilana. Want to play Pilana where every time they draw, they also gain a credit. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3. It's so bad. I'm so not excited to play Pilana against Pad Taps. So not excited. Play Ag Infusion. Play something else. What else? Asmari's back. Asmari, when they call resource, you install it, gain 1 credit. They gain 2. Sick. Now we're basically saying every time the first time a turn you play or install the card that they name, you gain a credit or more. Ugh. So good. Pad Tab is really good into Azamari. It's really annoying for them. That is for sure. It's also really good against like asset spam, right? Like Gagarin, one of the things they stick early is like a pad campaign or like a bankers group. And getting down your pad taps early, these sort of decks are really fragile in the early game where they're trying to get an economic lead and establish the board to put you in that sort of prison hell. And they can't do it when they have to trash your pad taps. Like if you're getting 2 credits every turn, that's amazing. That's like a, you know, you're basically a wizard at that point, like the ID wizard. Same with controlling the message. What other ability fires? Like a mirror morph, I guess. If you're playing sports metal now, you're getting money when they score. You also start to get money off their like tempo agendas. Again, there's so many things that Pad Tab fires on, and Pad Tab is so easy to play. And there's no way to like cheat this thing out. Like sometimes this was hard to play in your deck because they played scarcity resources, so this cost 2 credits to install. If this card even cost 2 credits, it would have been fine. It's fine. Also, ice interaction. Oh yeah, ice interaction was such a big deal. Like people played more actually Hordem back in the day, but like you would run into their ice, and when you had like 3 pad taps against the Wayland Rush list, and you'd be like, oh, I'll run into Hordem, break end the run. You can gain 1 credit, I'll gain 3. And that was the sort of deck where they're trying to get a credit lead to harding news you. Oh, I forgot about that. That was so bad. It's NBN now. If you're playing Reality Plus every time, right? Like. Oh man, every time that you get a tag, you gain a credit. If they gain 2 credits, they could draw 2 cards. Like it's, yeah, Aked is also, yeah, that's another good ice for that. It's wild. This thing just triggers so easily on so many things, and runners want money. Runners just want money. It's good. It's really, really good. I don't know how far you might see this in Enrix as well. I think a lot of lists that did play this, but this is it's a really, really strong card. If you haven't tried it out, it's really fun. You can jam 3 in a list, and there's so many identities that just gave credits that's going to happen. So 9 out of 10, fantastic. And that actually ends up the list. So what do we all think? What do we all think about this effective as of next week? In recap, no Vacheron means we're going to see less sports metal. Actually, it's worth talking about Nisei, because Nisei did say there's one like big elephant in the room, and that's the Cyberdeck Sandbox, which I think was something that they specifically a lot of people thought might end up being banned. I know I was thinking that this might not happen because Cyberdeck Sandbox technically is like a you know, virus decks are good right now, and not having a way to deal with viruses that's, you know, strong is a problem, because not only is Cyberdeck Sandbox strong, but now people are also running Cyberdeck's Virus Suite, even Macrophage, and all that sort of stuff, you know, helps balance the meta around. Although we went into 2110 testing with the premise that it would be banned, after reviewing testing results and results from the latest big tournaments, we realized that Sandbox is not the central problem it seemed before. It's also worth knowing that without 419, Amakua might be less prevalent, so maybe you run less Sandbox. I still think Sandbox is good. While it continues to be a strong card, runners have adjusted for its presence, and the top corps have moved onto other agenda suites. I honestly don't know what that means, because obviously Sports Metal doesn't run it. The PD decks, were they actually? I think they might be running three off-world office and then 2 Sandbox modernly. The NBN Glacier decks aren't running it, but like if you're playing Jinteki, Glacier or mid-range Glacier, I think you still would. Maybe you'd actually play off-world office based off of the meta. I don't know. While it continues to be a strong card, at this point, a ban would hit other corps harder than the currently stronger decks, further increasing the distance between the best and second best decks. And I think that might be true, right? Like if you want to put together a mid-range Jinteki deck, which is classically not viable, which now might be a bit more viable, it wants Sandbox a bit more than PD needs Sandbox. With Sandbox staying unbanned, we think runners will need additional tools to deal with the agenda suite of precision design, particularly in decks relying on low agenda density in general. Okay, so PD/Acme unaffected directly. I'm a big fan of this list in general, though. Decent runner buff. V1Z current is the search. Close I can get. Oh, false lead, superconducting hub, water monopoly, dedicated neural net, sting, house of knives. That's not amazing. That sounds like a really bad list. Add a Wayland IDs? Yeah, I guess the Wayland IDs trigger. Built to last mostly, right? Okay. So I don't know. I think PD still seems really strong. I think PD is pretty strong right now. There's not a lot of big changes that hurt PD off of this list. In fact, I would say none. I don't think Pad Tap's a really big deal. Mad Dash is strong against it. I think that's for sure. I think Apocalypse is okay against PD, okay to good. And I think Apocalypse got a fair bit worse with things like Kagugo. Whether or not people play that is a big question mark. I don't honestly know. I feel like if people are playing Gagarin or even Asmari, you want to Apocalypse both of those. That's for sure. Because Asmari generally plays a Glacier strategy. And a lot of times their ice is like porous enough, right? Like an IP block won't be a scoring remote, but like IP block into something will be, right? So destroying them actually is a big deal. I think Sports Metal could probably run an okay 1-pointer list. I think that needs to be tested because it's not only running 1-pointers, it's also more slots in the deck, right? Because you're taking what used to be 2 cards for 6 agendas and making it into 6 cards for 6 agendas. So you have to lose 4 slots somewhere, which is pretty hard. I think P being banned will have no impact on the competitive field. Unfortunately, it does have a huge impact on casual fields. Sorry for that, but I'm assuming it's going to come back soon. And Kakugo is very interesting because it could potentially be good in mid-range. I don't know if Kakugo prison decks are going to be worth pursuing. I don't know if people are going to tech against them, which is always very strong. Shipment from Tenon fits in with that, but I think you could play that in a mid-range Jinteki. I've seen it before. And I'm not sure if Asmari is immediately playable the way that we used to see it with things like Pad Tap and Mad Dash. Asmari coming in, but Pad Tap and Mad Dash also entering, like, that seems pretty hard. I think I'd rather play Acme, but maybe I'm under evaluating how good Asmari potentially is. Another thing we haven't talked about Asmari is if they're running 3-pointers, like Neurospike NBN is a thing that is competitive, but people aren't playing it for some reason. Maybe it's just me who thinks it's more consistent than it is, but that's the thing. Gagarin Deep Space, I don't think that's going to be a big deal, but I think it's going to be a scourge of casual JNet, myself included. 419 gone. I don't know if it's going to change too much. I'm excited about that. Encore, we'll see if people play Shaper combo decks. There's a chance that it's going to do nothing. And Mad Dash and Pad Tap are potentially very, very strong. Tightrope exchanges Mari seems good. Oh, yeah, right. Tightrope is always really fun. That is true. And again, like 419 was like a really good against the Asmari list because they had a Link and a lot of their ice had Link and they could run Citadel. And that stuff is really strong. In terms of other stuff, whether or not that has changed, like what else competitively has changed, the question mark about Virus Max is actually really interesting because Virus Max, while they could trash cards like Kakugo with things like Chisel, they're not a deck that is very good at taking net damage. So if people start running like Polana lists that run snares, Obokata Kakugos, and don't try and do a trap deck, but try and score out, but also have like thorny damage, that honestly could be really strong against that sort of list. We've seen people tech against max decks too though, and it's very possible to just play a couple cards that really help in that matchup. So the max deck is probably still okay. I'm not sure how good they are against Gagarin. I guess you need to get Imp down soon. But that's largely it. I'm really excited. I honestly am pretty stoked to see what Worlds holds. We're going to do some testing tonight. We're going to be playing Giles, some of the lists that that the SPL team posted, which again is such a huge thing to do. Virus Max just slots a Caldera if net damage gets strong. I don't know about that. The thing is, like, if net damage gets really strong and that's your win condition, there's cards you can play that deal with Caldera, right? Like there's a thing that trashes virtual things, right? On Trace 6 or something silly. Netscape or something, ScapeNet. Pretty sure that's how it works. Had some good water. That's largely it. Okay, new stuff really quickly in terms of Worlds. Hold on, I just need to close like every single tab. I'm just gonna hold the Control W and we're gonna surf through here. Oh, too far. Oh wow, almost way too far even. The other thing that Nisei announced is they announced, can Max just slot a Caldera when she will mill it like half the time? I think you can. I think in Max you can just about slot any card because at the end of your deck you just labor race it back in. Buffer Drive is a card? I guess so. No one's excited to play Buffer Drive. ScapeNet is finally a good card. Nisei is amazing. Well done. ScapeNet, honestly, don't like the design at all, but it's a really strong card against Turning Wheel specifically, which we might see. So we knew the dates for Worlds. Friday 19th is better suited for those in Europe and Africa. Again, the Worlds is not, firstly, two things. If you're not a competitive player, still participate in Worlds. I always say this, it's a good way to play in a huge field, which means you're going to end up playing against somebody of equal skill eventually. Maybe round one will be rough. People are super friendly. You're going to meet people around the whole world. It's a lot of fun. Do join. Again, it's not invitation only. Worlds slaps. I don't know if there's going to be side events. They didn't really announce much. Saturday is unfortunately for those who work on Fridays, is the better day for the Americas, for the Western Hemisphere. That slaps. And then the finals will be on Sunday. 65-minute rounds. There'll be a break. Registration can be found here. Day 2 Sunday. There are side events. Awesome. Also after parties and socializing. You can make some friends. It's going to be really nice. And then we have some of the prizes. And this looks like Scott Aminga's art, right? Yeah, hell yeah, some Scott Aminga in there. So we have 0 points. You get 3 spin doctors for just showing up, which slaps because everybody wants more spin doctors. Building 2 decks for Saturday, I realized 6 spin doctors would be nice. We have thimble rigs, which they look really nice. That's Scottamingas. The Audacity is Ollie. I'm like really surprised in some ways that Nisei is reprinting FFG cards, and specifically cards that are like not too far from being from rotated at some point, right? Like Rebirth rotates relatively soon. I think it's a really cool card, especially because it's foil, and foil cards I have no doubt are more expensive. So the fact that you're foiling the 1 per decks is sick, because that's like a really nice way to give something really nice without having to afford a full playset. I like the art on that a fair bit, but I'm surprised that Nisei is printing cards that aren't Nisei cards, I'll be honest. But Spin Doctor, the obvious choice. Thimble Rig is an interesting choice, but I like the art a fair bit. I like all of these a lot, actually. And you get also some interesting things. Sleeves they're doing. Nisei Tote Bag, card spoiler rights. That's a classic and a one-of-a-kind. Nisei World Championship playmat is awesome. So anyways, you can get involved now. Tickets are open. I think they've been maybe open for a bit, but that's fantastic. I really appreciate that they make an emphasis to make promos of cards people actually use, though, unlike FFG's Nero Severn and Bank Job. Yeah, a lot of times for FFG, it's really weird. Like, there's some really awkward FFG alt arts that was the art that they had to some extent. Like, Brute Force Hack was a Worlds promo. Sick. But things like Spin Doctor, stuff like that, are to be targeted. Back in the day, Nisei did like IPO. NGO Front came out from, I don't think it was Nisei, I think it was FFG, but like stuff like that people want more of, I think is so important for this game. Rebirth rotates on Borealis. I assume that it's Last Worlds. Isn't Rebirth, wait, what's rotating next? I thought Rebirth was Unbanned. Political Operative is a promo, lol, because they thought it was gonna be huge. I think the Political Operative is fine. Oh yeah, no, okay, yeah, Borealis, that is the next set. Rebirth is rotating out soon. Anyways, no, Pull Up I think was actually a pretty good card. It did do a lot. It's just people, didn't need more. Yeah, okay. So yeah, it's gonna go soon. All right, we're done talking. We're now gonna just play some games in silence. What do you all want to see? Because there are a couple cards. I still want to copy the Apex promo. I don't even remember. I remember that one. It was double-sided. They started doing those full art promos too late on in FFG Netrunner. So we have a couple decks. Firstly, again, I've said this so many times, the fact that the standard Banlist team is publishing the decks that they playtested privately to kind of even out the playfield is amazing. That is such a nice thing to do that they had it was not necessary to do by any means. And the fact that it's also published by different players who probably tested those decks, and these, are top tier players, is awesome. So where do we want to start? We have Oscillates. What's Big Max? I hope it's 100 cards. I hope this is 100 cards. It's 63 cards. Is this competitive? Is this competitive? What? Well, this makes me really happy. 3 Mad Dash. I'm telling you, play Mad Dash in anything. It's amazing. It costs nothing. On top of that, we have 2 Gagarins. We have 6 Mario. We have Foe 19. Rob published this, so it's 419, but with just other good stuff in it. So the Onicon package, a single Mad Dash. You want 4 of those, right? Big Max Slaps. I'm really excited to try that, actually. I just feel like it's the least flashy out of these new decks, right? It's not like Asmari or like, anything too super new. Is it just example Reg Anarch? Yeah, it looks like it. It's just Reg Anarch with free card draw that you're not worried about milling yourself too soon. And that's really interesting inclusions, like 2 falsified. We have no simul chip, so our Rozekis are Binet or whatever. We have a tech card that we might not have access to. Data folding makes a lot of sense because we're not running a lot of programs. And again, you don't have to install all your programs. We don't have Career Fair, but yeah, that's a bit slow. I'm surprised, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe the meta is slower. Can't see other folks in chat. Not sure if it's just me. No, Dane, unfortunately, we don't have, what's it called? The restream bot broke this evening, and I couldn't figure it out in time for the stream. So Twitch is talking, but YouTube's obviously talking too, but you're not. There's a wall somewhere, Oh, so I don't know. I kind of want to play RH Grinder. Is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with me? I like there's conversation about this here. How are we playing this? Game of Joy, just think lol yes to play that, not like lol yes there's something wrong with you, right? This actually I think should be a food. I think that is right. I don't see why this wouldn't be a food. I don't think we care about that bacteria programming. Someone locally also made a version of this sort of deck, which I think had some also interesting inclusions. I don't think we need 3 subliminal messaging. I guess it like fires Restoring Humanity pretty consistently. The single arc lockdown is cute. It's just recursion. RH go? Yeah, I think we're doing it. Yeah, 1 influence left. I think we just play a food here. I think Mouseless is fantastic as a taxing ice. T400? What, memory diamond? We're playing this one. Okay. Everyone had really strong opinions, so here we go. Please play it. Andre, please play the prison deck. Please click for 3 credits. We'll love to watch it. Oh, we're not a runner. Hold on. Okay. And while I think like the SPL decks are probably a pretty good starting point, I would assume, with obviously all due respect, that they probably could be optimized. And I'm interested to see how people are going to optimize them. Feeding it bacterial programming can do some seriously cool stuff. I believe it, but I feel like we just want to live longer, because it's not like we have PE where if they steal multiple agendas, we win, right? Like we can't fill. Back in the day, now with the new rules about like candidates, you could fire bacterial programming and personal evolution and feed them like 8 1-pointers and win with the board or whatever. Representing red makes my heart happy. I think the version also that was built in Montreal was Paulina. We played more cards than this. So I'm going to go get rid of this. I'm going to put a global food initiative. And then we're going to go, but we're going to have to play in, what's it called? We can't play standard. I'm just going to update keyhole real quick. Representing red, but that usually means the person across the table is rolling their eyes or tearing out their hair or both. I'm really excited for someone to have to play against Kagugo. Okay, keyhole is going to be updated in a second for those watching on Twitch. And we are off. I just got to figure out how to label this. I have to label this casual, right? Yeah, corp. I'll just copy that. Let's go. Cut a sub messaging. I would consider it. I'm not actually sure what I would add. Let me check real quick. It's on my phone, unfortunately, so it's not going to make good radio. But let me just check on my Slack what way was gone in here. Where is this? Julien would put this guy. It was really good to see Julien. I haven't seen that guy in a long time. That guy builds decks. Where did he post it? We're waiting for someone to. Okay, I got it. So his deck is 3 Hokusai, 3 Prizek. Oh, it actually advances cards. Like it had Ronin, it had Snare. It ran Longevity Serum. Uh-oh. I don't know if we're playing Longevity Serum. We're not. Because it ran Longevity Serum, which makes sense with Shipment from Tenon. I kind of like the idea of Longevity Serum because it's a recursion card, which helps with what we want to do. His version also ran Spin Doctor, which there's a chance you don't want to do because you don't want to draw cards. You kind of want to go really, really slow. Future testing standard? Yeah, we're testing for next week, at least. He also ran Dedication Ceremony. I think actually the version Julien was playing or testing was potentially more explosive. Because he's running actually like Ronin Dedication Ceremony. So if they're on low cards, you can blast them. And you just start recurring Dedication Ceremony Ronins and continually start blasting them. So we'll try it, but we'll try this version to start. Wait, how does Konjin work? Because does Konjin work off Kakugo now? The runner encounters his ice. You and runner secret spend 0, 1, or 2. Reveal spend credits. If you and runner spend a different, you may force the runner to encounter a rezzed piece of ice. When the runner encounter ends, if the run has not ended, finish encountering this ice. Does that mean you can Konjin a Kakugo? Can you Konjin a Kakugo? Because you're encountering that ice, but Kakugo is when you pass the ice, right? Or is it when you break the subroutines? But do you even pass it? I don't think you pass it. Yeah, I don't know. Do you pass it? They do not pass the second ice. But if they what happens when you finish encountering? You're technically passed? Or do you finish encountering and don't pass but go back to the Konjin? Quick to the CR? What's the CR? I think the movement step is still in Konjin or whatever. Yeah, I'd be surprised if it worked. A&R templating for the win. I don't think it's a really big deal. Yeah, how's it going, Jax? This means that an encounter ice phase resolves for the chosen ice, but the runner's position does not change. They are still in Konjin's position throughout, and they will not pass the other piece of ice from the Konjin site. Did I just miss that, actually? Thank you, though. Hold on. Sorry, we're bouncing between tabs. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Runner's position does not change. Okay, so they're not going to pass Kukugo. That's a bummer. Okay. Comprehensive rules. Okay. Sag, yeah, I know. Pass happens in movement, not encounter. Okay. So pass is basically as a movement thing. So that's a bummer. What else works with Kukugo? Okay, of course, Builder of Nations is a thing you can do if you really want to spend like 12 of your influence on 3 Kugugos or whatever it is. That's terrible. You have things like Fractal Threat Matrix if you really want to spend, I think, another like 4 influence or 3 influence with it. 4 to res is a lot, but basically to get through Kukugo, it's 3 cards because they have to break all the subroutines. So that's not amazing. What else could you do? Not that it's good, but like, is it genetic resequencing? No, that's not what it's called. There's that card that makes you re-encounter it, which is not good. I never remember the name of it, but they can just jack out or end the run fire. That's not particularly strong. So I don't know what it's going to take. Data loop with Kukugo is a way to protect your obos. Yeah, I know. On top of that, you throw Anoetic, right? Like every time they go through that, they lose a card. So even without anything like data loop, which, you know, is an influence spend and very expensive, just Kukugo Anoetic Void is really expensive, right? Like they need 4 cards when they access. And Anoetic takes 2 cards off of them when they run twice through a Kukugo. Like that can be pretty hard. Ganked, no, Ganked actually doesn't work because Ganked lets them encounter the piece of ice. So, okay, if they access the Ganked before they access the appropriate card in the remote server they actually wish to access, or in any server, then they can just Ganked into the Kukugo and let the Kukugo fire. Right? Now, if they have to deal with the Ganked and continue to access more cards, then yeah, they take another damage. But the Ganked, they can just end the run. So the corp pays 3 and you end the run, which doesn't seem particularly strong. Again, though, if you install 2 cards and one of them's agenda is the Ganked and they hit the Ganked first, yeah, then it's interesting. Man, I ganked Infinite Looped a couple times on Saturday. I think a couple of them were just avoided by like, you know, simul-chipping in a Botulus or something. But one of them was an Infinite Loop on a Drafter and I drew my whole archives. And it wasn't game winning. It was pretty wild. It's Code Replicator though, droids. Yeah, that's exactly it. But Code Replicator is just like ganked. Like it just lets them encounter it, I think, or approach it, so they can jack out even if they just don't want the end run to fire. And again, we talked about how like turning wheels potentially a really big deal in this meta because of Mad Dash, and Georgia Emilioff is something we actually saw in some of the prison lists show up in against a very strong turning wheel meta, which is actually turning wheel is one of the best cards to deal with this sort of potatoes decks because you just build up like 20 turning wheel counters, access all of R&D, and hopefully win. Man, I don't know if we're gonna find a game. Do CityWorks decks play Kukugo? If so, rude. They could, and I think Builder of Nations might have been your best thing, but I feel like that, like you might as well just not spend 12 influence and just play Prysac. Like that's good enough. Admittedly though, like Kukugo border control is like good enough. I just feel like there's so many CityWorks decks that like just advance their CityWorks to the point that you just don't interact with the CityWorks, right? Like it's not, oh, I don't have 4 cards in hand. It's like, oh, I don't have 7 cards in hand. Do you mind playing against chat? No, not at all. We do all the time. I would just kindly ask that you don't watch the stream at the same time because that will be an issue for me. For you, it might be lovely, in fact. On guard. All right, let's do it. Oops. What's up? I accidentally did bad. There we are. Heck yeah. All right. All right. Run events. So Ken wants to run, which is something we can exploit. All right, so we are restoring humanity, which is an identity that has an ability. Our hand is actually worth keeping, I think. A lot of run events, things like Maker's Eye, Bravado, all this stuff we're expecting legwork, and legwork is actually pretty good. Them's fighting words. I think we can keep this hand. We want to get a Kukugo on HQ as soon as possible, just to make sure every access is scary. But I think we can keep this hand and probably just a Nancy up and click for, oh, we can't click 3, but we can do a Nancy subliminal credit, and then we'll be pretty good at that point. Criminal doesn't deal with a Nancy very well because inside job doesn't work, right? Well, they get hurt, I mean. Oh, double snare, okay. What's the cheaper run event that shuffles instead of accessing? Because I can, I think, is what it's called. Best of luck. Have fun. So we can do HQ credit. And unfortunately, if we res that, obviously we won't have snare money. Did they keep? They kept. And Subliminal is really nice because in theory, we're meant to get Kagugos on everything. And I don't think we're ever meant to build a scoring remote. Let's just review the list. I think we want to just score out everything we can with shipment from Tenon. And I think this is a big reason why you want Longevity Serum, because I think you can actually score out 7 points with shipment from Tenon if you're really lucky. But without the 3-2, it's in a way harder spot. How far can we zoom in? I don't think we're going to build a lot of remotes. We can probably just jam our head in here. Okay, so they're not going to hit a snare here. They would love to hit an early Obokata unless they have programs in hand. A lot of times this run deck is only running singletons of programs. Maybe sometimes they run like a Harmony Medtech or Harmony AR Therapy to recur if they lose a program. But a lot of times it's mostly events. That's a really good opening. Dang, that's a good opening. I'm surprised they actually ran R&D there, considering, I guess it's only Sting and Snare at this point, right? Oh, it's Kakugo. All right, so enjoy the excitement that is going to be potentially this matchup. We're going to be clicking for a fair few credits, and they're already down to 36 health. So let's just keep that in mind. 36 health. We're just going to keep counting until we draw shipment from Tenon and score a House of Knives, which will be 3 damage. I wonder if you even like go into things like Stragotic Resonator, right? Like you just play any card that's unconditional damage or like Synth DNA modification and just build like one remote server and every turn put something in it. On top of like a Prysac and a Hokusai. Like I wonder if you can just build so much damage. That's why I kind of really like the whole Ronin thing. Because they have to interact with you. Also, I think because of his reliance on run events, out of any criminal, Ken is the least likely to run Turning Wheel, which is a legitimate problem dependent on where we end up putting our Kagugos. We just don't want them on the outermost. And next turn, unfortunately, please don't leave. I'm going to click for 3 credits. Maybe put a Hokusai on HQ. I probably will put a Hokusai on HQ just because it makes the snares more likely to be hit. The Kin? DC? Even Prana Condenser? No. We want to hurt them. We want to. I don't know if we lost them. I know they've been resetting JNet a bit today. Oh, no. Cool. They're thinking. Love this Jinteki ID just for the card art. Yeah, the art's really nice on this one. I'm a big fan of the art. Crep? Uh-oh. Anansi's a fave for sure. Ever run Malinzi? Haven't tried it myself. I don't like Malinzi. There's a chance that this is the sort of deck that actually Malinzi works well in, because Malinzi is a card that basically says... it gives the runner a choice. It's either take net damage or trash from the top of your deck. And admittedly, neither of them are great choices. But like the difference between Anansi and Malinzi is like you can boomerang a Malinzi and it's pretty bad for the corp. You can't boomerang an Anansi, right? Like it's definitely worse than Anansi. And then whether it's better than any of your other ice, you know, that's the other question. In this deck, I don't think it matter where the damage, it doesn't matter where the damage comes from, but I don't think they're going to face check without a killer. So it more comes down to whether it's efficient for them to break or not. If I'm not mistaken, it cost them 5 to break with Bagalter, but it's like 1 card with Boomerang, so don't love it. I'd honestly rather play some of the Euler. Uh-oh. Oh, that's bad for them. So they don't die here if they have 2 credits. Okay. Card to move on top of R&D. So... wow, Sprint is good in this deck. So I think we want to draw Sting into shipment from Tenon. So we can't shipment from 10 next turn, so we'll set that up. So we'll do, I don't know, Sprint, Mouseless, Sting, Shipment, Subliminal. Done. Yes. We always want to draw, basically, because we can discard now. Now, they need to pay 2 to draw a card, but now they're going to be drawing a card. Like, they could actually use Class Act to keep the worst card, because they're going to take 4 damage here. If they lose something like a Bagalter, they might be in a bad spot. So they lost a Corroder due to damage. If they can't recur that, they're going to have to Boomerang Kagugos, which is, you know, a lot of damage. They lost an Inside Job, a Boomerang, and an Overclock. We don't have Snare money, unfortunately. The House of Knives is also doesn't do damage. We're not PE. It's been banned away. So they stole the House of Knives, which is quite good for them. I also wonder if you actually feed them a sting there. Like maybe we draw a sting just so that we can set up. So here I'm going to draw once to get the sting. But there's a chance that we actually draw the sting to feed them a sting so that we have a way to fast advance additional damage. I didn't play the subliminal messaging here because if we discard it, it fires Historing Humanity, and there's a chance it will fire multiple times if they run central servers. Like that's a cool thing about subliminal. Like here they have to run specifically archives to stop our Restoring Humanity, as opposed to running a central, which would stop subliminal as well. We always have the chance to return this one if we want to, which we will. Yeah, now we need a reason. We want to ice up this so they stop turning off our ability and subliminal at the same time. This is not something that was like very obvious about subliminal. Oh man, wait. If they had one card in hand, they wouldn't have died because they ran. So we're just gonna put this on archives and click for credits. This is probably the worst deck to show off the new meta. I don't think this is a particularly strong deck. I think the runner can easily beef it into this though. They're in 16, we're on 7, but we're very comfortable where we are right now. All of our ice is pretty taxing. Oiler is a very interesting inclusion. And to break, they're probably going to end up spending like 5 to break our Massless, giving us a credit, which if they have pad tap, they're fine with that. But this is where I'd love to like shipment from Restoring Humanity. Mutual Favor, they're just going to hard cast a Begulter, I reckon. In hand. Probably want to hit the table here because we actually could hit it with the sting. And if we fast advance this, that will be to 4 credits, which means we can res one of these. Or just threaten snare. Both of those are fine. I just don't think they have a good way to deal with a Nancy. If they install the Begulter, it's 4 to boost, 3 to break. So it's 5. Oh, wow. We have a chance to hit the Begulter here. So we'll subliminal once. Then we'll do new remote. Advance. Shipment from Tenon. Because they didn't run. Score. Hit the Begulter. No, we hit a Sneak Door Beta. Whoa. We shouldn't have played that subliminal. We should have just discarded it. That's my bad. I thought we'd have enough cards in hand. I forgot we're playing 3. I for one appreciate shaking my fist and slowing down the meta Nisei wanted speed to back up basic action card hype. Yo, Dane, you're in a rare league of people excited to click for credits. It's just you and I think Timmy Wong, which actually is a pretty in rarefied air. Let's see what Elwyn does. So we know they have a Begulter. So they might go for a diversion of funds, but actually would be pretty rough for us. At that point, we want to get the Hokusai on HQ, which we didn't have to rush this agenda out. We could have stabilized a bit more, put the Hokusai on HQ, which looks scary. And then if they want a diversion, they have to go through the Nancy twice. But we kind of went for the 1 and 5 to hit the Begulter, because if we do, it's a huge blowout of a game. I'll take those odds because everything else is pretty good. If they run HQ outside of diversion, we just don't res. Or we don't do anything and they hopefully beef it on the snare. Dirty Laundry. So they know. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, they can die here. There's a big chance that there's 40% chance we win on the spot. Oh, they're doing it manually. Oh, there's a button you can click on this ice and just break all. Yeah. Okay. I think they saw it there at the end. All right. They hit the subliminal. Okay. They're alive this turn. But yeah, this does 3 damage, mind you. So they only had 2 cards in hand. That could have been lethal for sure. Snare would like to have a word with you. Yeah, we talked about this earlier today. I think for Jinteki, specifically this sort of deck, you definitely respect at least 3 cards in hand. Unlucky. There's a calculated risk on their part, let's say. All right, so next turn, we probably just play the Hokusai on HQ, click 3. Maybe the Hokusai on HQ like draws them into HQ, which would be a mistake. Or sorry, throws them, scares them. Okay, so I don't think we have anything smart to do here. I think we will just put this on HQ and click for credits. I don't want a subliminal here, do I? I don't think I do. Actually, I don't think I want to pad my hand. Yeah, I think we will play it. Because we kind of want them to run it, and on 8 credits we can res both of these, so that's good. But sometimes having a subliminal in the hand can be good. I don't know. It's a nice way to cover from diversion of funds as well, is to keep the 1 subliminal in hand. It doesn't change too much. It's not like we have like, you can't do subliminal, credit, celebrity. Pitch the sting? Ah, no, I want to score this. I want to score this. Like, I think we'll try and score every single agenda, because if we score 2 stings when they steal one, it's 3. Oh my god, that is going to... ruin them. It's Hokusai into 2 snares. It's like almost, it's very unlikely that they don't take net. It's impossible for them not to take at least 3 net damage on this run. Oh, they 100% die here. There's no combination of cards they access that does not kill them. This does 2, these do, yeah, that's a good game. Getting up to 8 is great, and also showing them the subliminals encourage them to run. Yeah, Mac, let's say that we taunted him to that. Oh, I did not let them break this. This is on me. I res that too soon. How's it going, by the way? Yeah, there is no combination. I did not need to res that at this point, but there's no combination of cards that they access that they don't die. They could jack out now. All right. Does your opponent just not want to win? I don't. Well, I wouldn't say it like that. It seems rude. So they hit the Hokusai grid. They trash the Hokusai grid, and now they're gonna hit a sprint. Mana Snare. That'll do it. They had 26 hit points left. Hey, Cat, I won my first game of Fab this week. Ah, how'd it go? Well, GG. Hey, good game. There were 2 snares in there. How are you liking the new Banlist? It's our first game so far. I'm actually quite positive about it. I actually just listened to y'all on that what is that podcast? They like the illegal podcast? I don't know. Nisi doesn't let me listen to it. Let's just say that I have to sneak out at night. But it was good. It's good to hear you. Who are you playing the Fab? There was a close call last turn. Illegal podcast. Oh man. So the one that they did not, the one that you're on, the one before it, was really funny. There was a point where Eric started talking about his balls, which wasn't good, but the beginning and the surreality of it was pretty funny. I don't agree with all the takes, but it was very goofy. Andre won with snare. Yeah, I know. But you expected here. Like, it's not the whatever. 49 to 15. Yeah, we'll click for credits. I wanted an R&D, but I knew that was Kugo when I back to booth. I think you're okay forcing me to res the Kugo. Paying for it to just end the run isn't too bad. Excuse me. Yeah, Flesh and Blood's been really good here in Montreal. I play like twice a week usually, and the crowd is really nice. Glad that you're enjoying it, Cat. Oh, in truth. Thanks for the game, mate. We'll do another one with this one. So our game plan basically there was just to kind of hold up. And then if you see what we were going to draw into, we had 2 stings coming up. We didn't have any shipments, so we'd probably have to sprint at some point. It was a very bad idea always to run HQ because we had Hokusai, 2 snares, and a sting. Then at some point we want to just keep pushing back in shipment from tenants into our deck, which we had 1 coming up, but we would shuffle our deck. And by coming up, I mean in a while. And then we just get ice up on everything and just kind of wait. So that's kind of how it does. Nice to see Andre not playing not PE. Yeah, and like PE. Okay, so what? We got 1 credit from Restoring Humanity. Technically, we got no money because we just discarded the Subliminal instead of playing it. But we played fewer cards in our deck. PE would have done 2 extra damage. Not a big difference. Corp, cash. Yeah, that's right. What's the Sadaka for it? So Sadaka is a very interesting piece of ice. That trashes resources, and it doesn't have a type, so you basically need a boomerang or an AI to break this, and you do this largely because it trashes a resource. So if they're playing something like a Caldera, which is the way to avoid net damage, or something like a No One Home, which will avoid a big burst of net damage, this can hopefully hate that out. But basically there's resources that help the runner not die, and you want to kill those, I guess. This also look at the top 3 cards of R&D and shuffle them. You may draw 1 card. That's okay. Sometimes you could not res this on R&D and wait for them to like Stargate, and then they mad dash back. Honestly, for that reason too, there might be a chance that some of these ice that used to be popular could come back. Like Mirage saw play because people back in the day played a lot of indexing. So if you start seeing cards where like people see the top of R&D with like Find the Truth, or like set it up with Stargate, and then go in with a Mad Dash, cards like Miraju and Sadaka technically are valuable. Miraju is a bit more consistent for that. Cool. Oh, awesome. Sorry. Duck, I was on a different tab. Excuse me. Yeah, I used to deal with film critics back in the day. That's exactly where it got played. Gonna play the 3-2? I think we should. I think we really should. I'm not a fan. Could go also Andre. Let's play a grinder deck. I want to see how it works. It's fun when you're not playing it, right? Okay, this is the big deck. This is the one that Osclit posted. So opening hand is like, you know, good enough. We have an Arc Lockdown against Max. Not that this deck runs like any recursion cards. Does it even run labor rights? I don't care. We're gonna keep this hand. Thanks, you too. It's running a triple Caldera and buffer drive. Just watch. that happens pretty often on this channel, and it's okay. You just kind of roll with it. Okay, so they could have a Stargate. I'm more worried about the Stargate than the single access on HQ. I'm okay if they get the Sting. So you put this on R&D and you click for credits. They're on a clock. They have admittedly a lot more hit points, but every turn they lose 3 cards. So if you do the math, they need to win in like 9 turns. Labor rights can change that a bit, but again, they're not guaranteed to get them. And I don't think they have anything else to deal with our stuff. Admittedly, they do have access to both Hippo and maybe Chisel. I'd be more worried about Hippo. So there's a chance that we have to do our ice placement where we put something in front of the Kakuko and just not res it. Wow, they're going deeper in their deck, but I guess I have to find what they need for this. But yeah, this actually could be an interesting matchup, but the biggest thing is that Duck is actually on the clock and you can no longer play that super passive game. Because if you just click for 4 credits, it's actually very hard for us to score out every single agenda. In fact, in this deck, it's impossible for us to score out every single agenda with that shipment from Tenon. We just don't have enough agendas. So, okay. 57 divided by 3 equals 9. Sure, but they're going to draw a bit too. Yeah, okay. I just went to 60. That's the math I can do. Buffer's also big in this matchup. There's almost no way they're running Buffer in a 60 card max deck. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, Buffer is abstractly pretty good. They are not running Buffer. I'm not surprised. Maw is potentially very strong in this matchup. They also found the turning wheel, so now like this Kagugo is actually kind of weak. We need to put something in front of it. Hippo removes from the game and your ice doesn't. Yeah, I know. We will recur our ice pretty aggressively. I'm gonna sprint here. Yeah, that's good. That's actually quite good. So we don't want the Obokata. We definitely don't want a preemptive in this hand. So we're just gonna put this on R&D and click for a credit, I think. I always wish the second sub on Sadako was conditional, if/then, and you could choose just to fire the first sub. I know, Joda, it would be really strong, but I have seen no situation in which someone breaks the last and not the first. Like if they can break the first, they break both. So yeah, they could just as well be one subroutine, unfortunately. And this is where the hit, like this thing is abstractly good. Like they don't install too many things. They're on 42 cards. Like they have to do something. They really have to do something quickly, or they're gonna be totally milled out. I'm just going to cheat and check real quick if they're running labor rights. Yeah, they're running 3. Okay. So we just have to watch out for labor rights. Oh, our first subliminal. I'm kidding. We're just going to click for credits. We're not going to play it. We also might want to put an ice onto archives for the inevitable labor rights. That is something that we'd actually consider arc lockdowning as soon as we see it. Because we can recur arc lockdown. Arc lockdown doesn't remove itself from the game. It removes cards from the game, but not itself, unless you name Arc Lockdown. Well, but your Arc is not a heap. Okay, we figured it out. This is good though. Technically, drip econ is what you want because their drip economy is more card efficient when it comes to money per card. Like Daily Cast is 5 credits for a single card as opposed to 4 for Sure Gamble. It's obviously slower, but in this matchup, you know, you really have to value your cards. So the Daily Cast is almost always better than a Sure Gamble in a matchup where every card matters. Now again, they're on the clock, but they're not too scared to make a run because if they run into a Nancy, it is potentially disastrous. And so I don't blame them here. Even cards like an Aki, like draw 2 cards seems bad if you're trying to kill them with Snare, but you don't care. If they draw cards, they don't have cards left eventually. And that's how you win this game. I think we also have 1 CVS so that they don't Hippo or Obokatas, but if they do that, it only goes so far. I really wish when you played on JNet, you could have a window with the heap and you could like position where it was so it didn't have to close. I didn't have to cover everything. That'd be quite nice. We don't always finish all the water. Ooh, Docklands Pass. That's nice. That's quite nice. They have all the breakers in the bin. Now, if we never res, if we never res, Oh, that eats a that just eats a turning wheel. If we never res and they get all their MK Ultras in the bin, we can just lock them down. Like, we don't actually have to res. Like, this is the problem with this deck. Is everyone having fun yet? Tossing 2 cards EOT? Oh, did they? Well, yeah, but it's 2 breakers. But yeah, you're right. Like, you don't want to do that, but that's at least the best card for them to do it to. I'm loving a stream. Yo, Pickwin. What do you think I'm going to do next turn? Do you have any idea? It was a good stream, this one. So all this being said, but there's a lot of people that love this deck. Whoa, they're liberating now. That trashes 3 cards. So it looks like they hit MK Ultra, a Dirty Laundry, and they're shuffling back in a Rozeki, a Mad Dash, and another Data Folding. Interesting. The Mad Dash is honestly relevant because they could technically win in 2 agendas, and they did find it. They found the Rebirth. So now they're going to run HQ and hit 2 cards here. So we need a piece of ice for archives. I'm assuming they're going to go HQ because we did not filter outside of the sprint, and it's been a couple turns. But yeah, we wanted to ice up archives. Sadaka is not the place for that. So they hit the lockdown, and they're going to hit 1 more card. Snares, best case scenario. That's a genotyping. Okay. Metric was owed to the basic action card. Click for credits is good. Yo, pick one. Do you think I'm going to click for credits? There's a chance I might actually have to change our game plan because they've rebirthed into this guy. This card also means that they're not going to be drawing anymore. And that's actually one of the bigger reasons. That's actually a much bigger deal than the archives pressure, is that they're not milling themselves out anymore. Like, them drawing this is a huge change. Like, if that's the bottom of the deck, like, GG. How much ice are we running? Wow. Actually more than I thought. We're running like 12 ice. That's pretty good. Oh, that's a perfect piece of ice for that. That's a perfect one. I could go on archives would be nice. Yeah, we'll take what we can get here. We've gotten now 3 credits from our ability, which is, you know, sign me up. Not that pull on I would have gotten a couple more. So we didn't straight click for credits. And we're at 18. We can res most servers. And this one's actually really difficult for them to get through. They'll generally pay 6 and give us 1. We also can just wait for their orchestras to be out. They're at 1-1. So if another MK Ultra hits the bin, we're going to jump on that first. Why not play Plana? I don't know. I think we could. I really think we could. Abstractly, if they're not running, right? Like, this is a good play. I'm going to trade a Hippo for a mouse list for sure. Plana truly are, but more. I think you might be right about that. I think that's what I would have done first. Deuce is wild, so they're going to draw 2. That's good. They might expose and run, but I feel like they want to, they know it's a mouseless here, so now they have to run. Whoa, so running archives is not good, so they could run any of these centrals. Sadaka eats the turning wheel unconditionally unless they can pull a Botulus with the Gatchip on, I guess. So we're going into Aiki into Kagugo. So I'll res the Aiki. So they can break this they can play a side game. So they're paying 6 and then play a side game to draw 2 potentially. And I'll force them to draw 2. Unless they want to break this for 9 after install. Well, including install. Like, I'd honestly pay 2 here. Like, I just want them to draw cards. There's no way they pay 2. They pay 1. Maybe we should have paid 0. Yeah, we should have just paid 1. Because if we play different, they draw. So we wanted them to draw. Do we res the Kakugo? Pay 1? Yeah, Mac, I thought there was a chance they would consider paying 1. So I paid 2 because our money's not that relevant. They just jacked out because they did not want to run into a Nuncy. So respect there. Now this is res. That's not a good turning wheel. Not worth. Yeah, maybe probably not. Okay, so we're still 15, so we can res 8 plus 4 plus 2 is good. And again, our turns are not that valuable. Another daily cast. 25 more hit points. They're going to throw out 2 more cards here. If they are silly enough to throw out the 3rd MK Ultra, knowing that we're holding the Arc Lockdown, I think they wouldn't. So it's really on them to beef it here. They're kind of poor in their hand sets with that max. I probably didn't realize how little their money was. I likely overspent there. I was not looking at their credits. They threw out a Black Orchestra and a Hippo. So the Orchestra is less relevant. They did throw out a Hippo, which is more relevant. That's a Kakugo. Now we don't want that on the outermost. I think we just put this on archives and click for credits. The server seems hot. Fortunately, the Sadaka does trash itself, but we don't want a Kikugo on the outside. And once we top deck in shipment from Tenon, that's a sting, that's a damage, and then the sting that they steal is 2 more damage, and so forth and so forth. So that's, wow. 7 credits at the beginning of turn, seems good. I haven't checked how many Maws they're on. They're 1 labor rates down. Let's move my face. So 1 labor rates upgrade. That's the one. They're down no Maws. They're played all 3 hippos, lost 2, played 1. So there's not going to be that much more ice destruction. Unless they labor rights the hippos from the bin back. They're holding cards in their hand that are more important than hippo. And maybe they just don't value the ice destruction. Or maybe their hand is just like absolutely smoking. They have 2 Gachapons, which I think Gachapons, this is not a matchup you can play Gachapon. That is, you lose 3 cards to this thing, right? Second labor rights. Off the top, they lost the second paperclip, a Rizeki, and a Maw. They're going to put the Maw back in. The Maw is honestly a good win con against this, and they're bringing back the 3rd labor rights, which I didn't realize was in there. So that's going to put them on a potentially 25, 26, 27 health at this point, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because the labor rights is +2. Oh, actually, no, labor rights is not even. Labor rights is a loss of health unless you play it on your last card. Yeah, labor rights is net -1 card. Data folding liberated. This is a really good matchup for the folding. Yes. Oh, I should not have hit yes there. Ugh. Yeah, that's a fuck up. That actually cost us a credit. My bad. Because now it's in hand. Like, that's why you don't hit yes to subliminal. Hit an overclock. They're in 2 cards. Again, I think I like the Dedication Ronin deck a bit. From this hand, we'll probably not play subliminal. Our money's good. But yeah, they definitely should not have taken a subliminal back. Subliminal's really nice again in restoring humanity. I don't know if we want to run 3 of them. I don't know if the money's that important compared to that. Like, that could be a price hack, which is just, you know, unconditionally, usually 3 more damage plus tag is relevant. It's all about that last game at MK Ultra. And they're only on 8 credits. Like, they can't even run into the Anansi. Okay, 12. Okay. House of Knives. I think we're just going to click 3. Like, I don't think we're in a rush. I'm throwing this out as akin to playing it, but it's a chance of firing. I forgot it was Thursday. Hey, Andre. You didn't stream today? How's it going? How do you like the new meta, man? Right now, we're playing the SPL, like, the shared decks. I'm worried that this one's going to be a long one. Not sure what we expected. But they at least rebirthed out of their 63 card max deck before they milled out, so that's good for them. But they have to interact. We're expecting Stargates. Turning Wheel's very good. They have limited economy. And at some point we could like even install events. Like we could plan a remote server. Like the thing is they have limited cards, so at some point you could feed them a Kakugo into an Obokata behind it. But the problem is like with Mad Dash existing, that is a way worse plan sometimes. Wow, overclock. Well, we'll res the Sadaka, and then we won't res the Anansi because this is the easiest run for them to hippo it because this will be trashed. So this is going to take down the turning wheel. This is why you play this, huh? Spent about 3 hours recording another record reconstructor. Like I said, I forgot it was Thursday. I didn't think the stream. Ah, beans. Fires. Top 3 cards of R&D. It's either range them in any order. R&D, you may draw 1 card. Okay, we'll draw the Hokusai, I think. I don't... No, we'll draw the Mouseless to put in front of the Anansi. Oh, but if we don't res it, yeah, we'll res the Mouseless. Trash a card. So I think we're going to go ahead and trash the genotyping. And we'll trash the turning wheel. Actually, sorry, we don't have to worry about turning wheel anymore. So now if we res this, they can trash it and they can hippo it. So we don't want that to happen. I have no idea if the new SPL will make standard more fun, but I do want to make Encore work. Hell yeah, it's a nice philosophical shift from prior ones. Yeah, it is. They hit the Arc Lockdown. Or they hit 2 cards. I forgot about that in preemptive. Okay. Yeah, unbanning cards I think is super exciting. That's obviously more exciting. Not that like sometimes having something being banned is exciting. Like I'm excited 419's banned. but I hear you. Hokusai is not unique. Okay. All right. Kind of want Georgia Emiliov. I just don't know if it's worth a slot. She says that the run is not successful at pay 1, and you can move her around. Can you move her around mid-click? I think it's basically, if you have money, I should not have tried. Yeah, she's untrashable if you have infinite money. She's so cool. She's so cool. You can use Anoetic Void plus Georgia. That is so cool. All right, so we're gonna let us lose a Mouseless here. That's okay. We have a Kugo to replace there. Yeah, you can move for mid run. That's awesome. Mouseless and Ike both go really well against Hippo setups. They really do. Like, go ahead, pay 9 to trash this. It's technically more efficient. But like, I'm just gonna replace it. I honestly don't know how this works, so I'm gonna res both of them. Because I don't know which one of these is gonna fire. Void in Georgia to protect Prana plays for itself. That's so cool. Oh man, condenser forever. Well, you still have to play you have to pay the 2 cards. Just need enough draw to keep the cards void fed. Yeah, and then you play like Plana Agroplex. So which one fired? Oh, there wasn't an Omar run. Of course not. Or was it an Omar run? No, it wasn't. They said no agenda. Yeah, no, you're just throwing out subliminal. That's why I res this. I thought it was an Omar run. Might be. So now we put the Kugo there, and again, there's only 2 more hippos. Yeah, no, that's again why subliminal is also kind of cool, because throwing it out means, you know, what is it? It's usually a subliminal. All right, so they only have 24 more hit points. Yeah, and it's like they're trying to win. We're not doing anything, and it's on them not to do this. It's on them not to go for single axes that cost you 5 damage. But again, like, what else can they do? Like, they have to go into our centrals, and all of our centrals hurt them unconditionally. I'm glad we got a few new, fun new ban lists with good aggro tools, and you went to grinder. Yo, everyone loves Kugo. You gotta give the people what they want, right? Net damage grinder is real Netrunner. That's what the net in Netrunner is. It's net damage grinder runner. I don't think the HQ one will fire on the Omar run to HQ. Will it not? I honestly don't know. Pet tab doesn't matter. We're never going to play a subliminal. Rozeki doesn't matter. Literally, there's no way this will trigger unless we play a subliminal, which we're not going to do. Yeah, maybe it doesn't fire. Red orb too strong. Like, this only fires if we gain a credit through a card ability, and we literally have no card abilities in our deck that gain credits besides subliminal. Oh no, that's not true. Mouseless could fire. No, that's not true. RH does fire bad tap. Oh yeah, RH. I forgot we have an ability. Yeah, never mind. Okay, well, we might actually trash it. Okay, this is scary. Potentially disruptive. Yeah, we will trash it then, because it's technically infinite economy. I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. The RH ability is like, you know, I'm technically triggering it, but it's nothing I'm excited about. Why is this person not using Omar ability on archives that's open? It's not. They could have last turn, but they might have been worried about snare, and they've seen a couple cards. But you're right, Leopold. They might have wanted to go to access 2 cards. Maybe they didn't want the Hokusai to fire. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Maybe that was a good time when it was open. All right. Well, we've done nothing, and somehow they've lost 10 hit points in the last couple turns. Here we go. Kakugo. It's an Omar run. IDs are cards too. All right, paperclip coming in. So that's no longer a target for our clock down that's been hanging out there. Hit them all. Okay. Let's see where they go. Let's see if this fires. It does fire. What do we know? Sick. So they hit the arc lockdown. They hit another Kukugo. They lost 2 damage to that. Do you preempt it before Maw fires? No, I'm okay with it. Like, it costs them to check that. If they steal one of these, like, who cares? Like, if we preemptive now, we're preemptiving back House of Knives, I think. Like, what we're probably preemptiving back is like House of Knives. Maybe. I'm not even convinced. Hokusai probably. And like, actually, I think the most important thing to preempt it back is a shipment and House of Knives. And then either it's the Hokusai or the Mouseless. And I think it's the Mouseless. So yeah, probably. And then Subliminal Fires continually from archives. Again, this is why you don't play this. You just discard it if you can. Cool. Preemptive for SFT and Hokusai. Yeah, I think so. Actually, I didn't do Hokusai. Hokusai is actually a really good card because it's unconditional damage. But abstractly, it's more taxing over time for the Mouseless. But yeah, I think you could go either way. Preemptive after one of those other snare hits. I feel like our deck has 3 preemptives and then 3 genotyping that I don't think we have to be precious about a recursion, right? Like it's 2 preemptive, excuse me, 3 genotyping. So I don't think we have to be precious about a recursion. We can just kind of recur whatever the heck we want to. And yeah, recurring the recursion is actually really important because, well, preemptive removes itself, I guess. All right, they're down on 15 health, then we haven't done anything. Like this is they're just running out of cards. No, you see, like they just come back. Click for 3. Am I missing something here? So this deck is abstractly competitive, and Nisei didn't want this to happen. And this is stronger in personal evolution. So the only way they could give us shipment from Kagugo to make Jinteki better is by taking it away. And I hope this kind of shows why this is. This will definitely be a bit stronger in PE. 1 damage stronger a bit, but like the damage really matters when they had a 63 card deck. Admittedly, they're milling 3 cards a turn, but this is where it comes to that. Can we update to Serum 2? Yeah, I think we can. We should. I think Serum's really good. I'm surprised this deck isn't running Serum. Okay, that's the 3rd Maw. Now, if they run R&D here or HQ, they can get a mill. HQ technically more dangerous. Wow, they could hit 2 snares here and lose. Yeah, and they trash that. So they actually don't. If they trash that, they don't draw with Maw. We hit a knife at worse, which threw out the Citadel, the Mad Dash. So that actually drew them deeper. Wait, what happened? Oh, access a card. Oh, I thought this was like Kagugo, where if you trash something in the run, it doesn't count. So we lost the Kagugo to Maw. That Maw's actually quite good. I didn't think it would work like that. Okay. Still, we want another piece of ice here if we can, but I'm not that interested in drawing in this hand because now they have a 50% chance of hitting a snare. Yeah, I thought this would work right, like Amaku. Amaku, if you access 3 cards in HQ and trash one of them, you don't get Amaku a counter. This fires on the first time you access a card. Can we update to a different list? I don't even know. Yeah, I think so. Preemptive for Hokusai and Kagugo. I'm in no rush. Like again, they have 13 hit points left. 12 hit points. Math is hard. I'm at this point in time, like they should just start clicking for credits and force us to do something, and that's when, like, you know, we start sprinting and like drawing for our win con. We might actually want to feed them a sting or 2, because a sting is 2 damage, right? And then we score the 3rd sting. I think that might be smart. Oh wow, they're going in. Have Peeps tried Trickle A? We've already have on Mouseless. Maybe it's too slow. I think it's probably just worse from shipment from Tenon, because like there's not that many agendas you can score out with that. Like, yeah, I don't know what agendas you want to score like that. There's a chance that you could do Trickle 8 and then you could also play the 4-2 that wipes their whole hand. But I don't know if you want to play the 4-2. Wow, they're letting us fire all? They probably pay 1 here. Oh, they didn't. So they drew cards. That's kind of what we want. Trick was good in 10 versions of the list. Slots are hard to give it. Yeah, in SFT. Yeah. So this is going to be another damage, which if they drew into the Black Orchestra, and the damage hits the Black Orchestra, and they're in a bad spot. Oh, I mean the MK Ultra. I was meant to say the MK Ultra. Wow, now all 3 are in the bin. Whoa, there's exactly the card. Like, whoa, if they draw that and lose that here, that's disastrous. Because now we can lock down their... Oh, man, we lost the preemptive. Damn it. We weren't playing around that. But if we lost the Arc Lockdown, it'd be more sad. Because as soon as we Arc Lockdown the MK Ultra, we put a Nancy on R&D and on Archives. Like, there's nothing they can do. They're not apocalypsing us, right? No, we'll just res this one. Oh no, we can't res the Anansi. Excuse me. I should have res the Mouseless. Actually, it doesn't matter. They're likely to hit a snare now. Purge. Okay. Wow, they missed the snare. Okay, sick. So, woo, MK Ultra's gone. So they can no longer break sentries. I'm just going to click for 2 credits because drawing seems like an unnecessary risk. Did you just draw that from the Ike? Yeah, maybe got him. I think Monty did that. Oof. Ooh. They did just draw it because I was like, that's the problem with Ike. Like sometimes you run with calculated decisions on what you have in hand, what you can afford to lose, but Ike just goofs that math up. So there you go. There you go. So now they can't run HQ naturally. It's just way too much damage. So they have to win off of R&D or Omar. And I'm fine with both of those because we're more likely to win over time because they have 11 cards and they still need to deal with 2 snares. Oh man, if they hit the shipment first, I'll be upset. They also have to deal with Obokata. They hit an I've had worse. Okay. So that forces a draw. That's really good for us. Let's see where they go here. They hit for shipment. Oh, and they mill the snare. No. There was a 50-50 on that. It's actually 25% chance of that happening because they had to access the shipment first and then they had to mill the snare. So it's 1 and 2 and then 1 into another 1 and 2. Ah, oh, damn it. Play Arc Lockdown. WinCon is live, Lamau. Enjoy the grinder. Enjoy it. Oh man, that's actually fairly unlucky. We're just mad dashing archives. Assuming there's an agenda there. That actually does immediate damage to them. That is a 3 card play. That is Kugo damage, the failed mad dash damage. There gotta be points in there. No, there's not. I'm afraid there's not. They lost a paperclip. There's no points in here. Take a damage. Oh, purge viruses. Yes, get them. They are down to 6 cards. We started on 63. It's not even that late, I don't think. It's turn 16. He's bursting. Come on in. The water is warm. Damn it. I think we just draw for the click for 3. Like, not that we need the money. You have it through your deck and there's 1 point scored. I know, but honestly, that's been weird. Like, we didn't do anything. Like, that is unlucky. Like, we sprinted once and that's it. Oh, we actually did recycle. We added 3 non-agenda cards, so, but still. The deck is pretty small density. Like, it's only 18 agenda points, and we're only running 10 agendas. So, and one of them is for food as well. Like, they have to steal a fair bit of agendas. Find your spiders. I think this list is only running 2 spiders for some reason. I don't know why that's not 3. I think there's ways to change this list. Some real NPE here? I don't know what you're talking about. It says P's banned. It's not P, so it has to be good. Well, okay, so they have no deck left, so they play the Laborite, so that actually is a 2 card gain. So that's good for their health. What they shuffle back in here is really important. I honestly don't know what it would be. It probably has to be the Mad Dash, unfortunately. It's Hippo turning wheel. Okay, that makes way more sense. Because the Hippo's going to eat the Mouseless. We have to put a piece of ice here. So, oh, they installed that but didn't run. So if we drop piece of ice, we can protect the Kugo. Add subliminal? No. No, we have to draw into ice. We have to draw into ice. What did we think was going to happen? Ugh. Hippos for Kugos? Yeah, I know. You should play around it. They discarded 2 Hippos, so it came down to the Laborites. If we hit that with damage, we'd be okay. We'll just click for a card here, I guess. Oh, I forgot we didn't have Subliminal. Sorry, I forgot Subliminal's flip. We obviously should have added that to our hand. We actually should even add the Subliminal hand because I think it was better for padding against Maw than it is for the credit. So that's definitely a misplay. Genotyping back stuff. I was trying to draw into an ice, which seemed more relevant at the time. Maybe that's not worth doing because there's only 3 ice left in 20 cards. I realized in retrospect. Actually, 2 ice left in 20 cards. So it was actually really not worth doing. So yeah, I think you're right. The genotyping was the right play. Okay, so that's going to get mod hippoed, and it doesn't trigger because it gets destroyed before they pass it. House Knives, steal. No damage. Shipment from Tenon. Okay. So that's not going to trigger. And we lost. Shipment from Tenon. It's not clear whether it's the same shipment from Tenon they saw or not. You would know that in person. You wouldn't know here. And we're at the point that we can almost naked score a Bakata because the Mad Dash is out of the game. It's face up. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, that's huge. Mac, that's a really good point. Oh, it's one card too far. I think we draw once. Ah, beans. Okay, we will first genotyping to see how it goes. Wow, that's all our ice. Oh, genotyping is 4 cards. Absolute riches. And we'll do a snare. Obviously, this hand's awkward. We don't want to draw last click. We'll draw last click. The walls are closing in. I think we actually played that relatively poorly here. We have a chance of losing. It's always just 2 accesses a turn. Oh my god, Andre, I know, Rongi, that was bad. What is it? I don't know. That was bad. Obviously, drawing last click was bad, but I thought we wouldn't draw an agenda. I would have been happy with anything else. Get preempted back. Oh yeah, there's a preempted there. Excuse me. I did not realize that. I mean, the whole deck. Oh, okay, Rongi. The deck is fine. Nisei said I could do this. They published it. They said, Nisei tacitly said everyone should be doing this. If they steal the Obokata here, they die to Sting. They don't die to Sting. I feel like grabbing the preemptive of the other genotyping would have been good. I would have grabbed the preemptive. I did goof that. They can't steal this. They could have died there. They need to maw this. They're on game point, but we're not running the 1-pointer. Purge. And this is going to be another thing. We're going to trash this and we're going to lose. Okay. Here we go. Archives. So there's a 25% chance that they run archives. And if they don't run archives, if they don't run this turn, we win. And if they run, they can't run RD. They can run this. They can't run HQ. So basically, their only play is run HQ, access the shipment first, and then maw the Sting. Any other play they have loses on the spot. Well, not true. They could run R&D and steal a 1-pointer. It'd be fine. They could steal a House of Knights. It'd be fine. But they can't run HQ. They now lose to shipment Sting. We did it. We outsmarted them and we clicked for more credits than them. Oh, they're not dead. Never mind. Yo, that's why that's why they had to ban personal evolution. That would have been lethal. It looks like we're just dying here. All right. Oh, they're not dead. Never mind. Yeah, we could have scored that naked. It was only the imp. So now they're gonna fall on a sword. They have no way to break this. The spider will take its last story. I forgot this deck is NP, not PE. Put the PE back in NPE. I'm gonna hit some buttons here. I don't know what the buttons do. Good game. Here's a spider. Yeah. I forgot the rebirth was I don't know how to spell stymie. I'm not gonna try. Would stop the self mill. That was a good time to draw it. F. Yeah, double F. Yeah, no. They gained 135 credits, but the problem was the cards. Because card drawings is 60. That's just too many cards to draw. Probably have gone early. Oh, I think so. Oh, for sure. Yeah, and hitting that MK Ultra was also really lucky, but that's why, like, this deck used to play like 2 arc lockdowns and like 2 archive memories to bring back the arc lockdowns with 12 influence. What are we spending our influence on? Sprint? It's good for 1 influence. Arc lockdown, that's fine. What else are we spending our influence on? Mouseless is the big influence sink. And it's just kind of like the best mid-range taxing ice because you need mid-range taxing ice here. This used to be Engram Flush at some point. It used to be Ike. You actually could consider playing the Sentry, whatever the Sentry is that exists right now. Saisentan. Yeah, that was wild. Turn 16. one agenda point. I didn't even bury them aggressively. They just didn't show up. 10 agendas in 44. Sprint's only one influence. Been looking for a good one influence aside from Eli and IP block. Yeah, so like Sprint is in some decks better than Spin Doctor because it's better for combo. I think it technically draws a bit more. But on top of that, it lets you filter things. So any sort of combo deck or any deck that doesn't want to score agendas, it's also quite good. Yeah. Thanks, you too. I think you also divide both sides by E and prove P does not equal NP as well. Hell yeah. Oh man, P equals NP is the thing I can talk about at length. I love P equals NP talk. Man, if someone says like, if you had to do a TED talk right now, what would you do? I would definitely just talk about P equals NP for like a long time. It's 11:34. We can't just only play NPE PE, right? That would be bad. That would be a bad look. We gotta play something else. Have you heard multiplying both sides by E? Eventually it spells a word out, right? Like if you can just add enough letters to each side, it balances out. Okay, we'll play Gagarin. I'm kidding. Let's try Loop Polana. What do you think about Spin Doctor over Sprint? Spin Doctor helps overdraw cards to archives face down. In this deck, I don't think you want it because you actually don't want to aggressively draw through your deck. Right, like getting cards into your archives is obviously cute in Restoring Humanity, but it's by no means a priority. Like we'll click for credits happily, but like actually milling ourselves out and aggressively drawing is not great. Like I feel like it's just better also because it's not trashable, so it's a bit more strong in central servers. I don't see why we'd want to play Spin Doctor over Sprint. The recursion is the only thing, right? Obviously, Spin Doctor recurs, but it also trashes, basically overdraws 2 cards, so it kind of cancels itself out. But the fact that we have access to genotyping, which technically is good for identity and also preemptive, I just don't think it's necessary. NEBP. By transitive property, we can actually very simply prove that P is NP. Oh, this deck runs a single punitive. Yes. Okay. I'm so happy about this because this is exactly what we were talking about earlier, that you can probably play mid-range Polana and just jam in some amount of 3/2s and then just play like Shipment from Tenons. Because when your central servers are like a Nancy's DNA trackers, Kagugos, and other garbage, they just cannot consistently run and you can get a free 2 points out. So you end up scoring like 2 2-pointers and these you install naked in a remote server. Lacosta is not necessary. And then you score out 1 3-pointer. This slaps. And this was played at top tables at Worlds. I forget the name of the player who played this. I think it was Andreas. Is that his name? Andreas? That was playing something like this back in the day. And it ran Snare too. And it was just such a fun deck. Especially in that meta where everyone was just playing Mati. Because, not Mati. Yeah, I think Mati was legal back then. Yeah, maybe it was Mati. Okay, this is the one. Ike and Luplan is terrible. Uh-oh, are we playing Ike? Because that's one of the big question marks here. Yeah, is the mid-range ice doesn't exist anymore. That's a problem. Here we go. Important. And I'll update if you're watching on Twitch. I'll update it so you can follow along at home. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to boot up the lobby. Oh, no. Oh, I can't paste now. Okay, we have to redo it. Corp. And then I'm just going to go ahead and we were on this. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to update the thing. Yeah, I don't love Ike. Like, Ike, the problem with it is that you just basically give them free card draw. And you don't want to do that. That's bad, especially when you're running like Obacadas and Snares, and Hokusais. Like, it's actually one of the worst things you can do, is to give them clickless card draw while running. Uh-oh. Oh, Beans. Hey, Kevin. I forgot to make this casual. I used to play Mind Game. The teeth on those left ones dome left. Yeah, running archives is not amazing, but honestly, as long as they're not forcing you to pay money every time, it's probably not the worst. It's unfortunately expensive. Every time. You're in standard? Yeah, I know. I goofed it. Ike is more of a potatoes attrition card. Yeah, it's also abstractly a taxing card, especially if people are like on Angolo. Like they break it for 5 with Angolo. That's goofy. Corp trying to run a mill deck? Yo, Mark, we just did it. It works. Hey, same deck probably. Thanks, you too. And this deck is way more well positioned against the last one because we're actively trying to score out, and they have a lot more hit points. This hand is not good. We definitely want to open up with hedge fund or celebrity gift. We just don't have enough money. We're running preemptive. What is happening? Why is every deck running preemptive? Sorry, I was a little tied up with work. No, of course. Welcome. I wish I could play Apex viably. I honestly don't know if I would do. I guess that's worse. Kind of. At least they mulligan. No, that's now officially worse. So we're definitely going to get max credits again the first time the turn they draw. I don't want a celebrity gift this hand because it's obviously really bad. And it looks we're going to do DNA Tracker on HQ and hedge fund and hope they, I don't know, Stargate Mad Dash. We're not a mill deck this one, Mark. The last one we played a mill. This actually we're going to try and score out, but we do have a little bit more net damage than normal. So that's going to be an issue. Early Puemo is amazing. Again, the economy for this deck can be a bit slow and probably not that consistent. They'll probably play whatever economy they have in a hand. Like they'd probably have to play data folding on this hand if they have it. Throwing out a patchwork. Okay. This is not this list. It is just another good stuff max list. Is this actually just like a viable deck now? Big max? I don't think we want to celebrity gift this hand. Actually, I do think we celebrity gift this hand. Yeah, I'm just so not used to playing celebrity gift. I classically don't like celebrity gift. I feel like the trade-off of what we give them is way worse than the trade-off of what we get. I guess we put Sadak on R&D. It's better there than anywhere else, but now they know what that is. Maybe we shouldn't have shown this. Maybe if they ever printed virtual daily casts. Yeah, it's DreamNet. I don't know. Data folding. It's data folding. There. Yeah, it's data folding. They did print it. It gives you 1 credit, but it's infinite. Ooh. Flatline is best twin. Yeah, we got it last game. Okay, we actually can do install advance events on the Obokata. It is very unlikely unless they have an I've had worse in hand. Because if they steal it, they'll go down to 1 card. I guess we might as well do an ice first. Like we'll pop that and then we'll have enough money to install advanced Obokata and then punitive. I'm surprised that we're on 1. It does make sense. Some of these lists would run archive memories, which is just a flexible card, and you can do punitive, archive, punitive. It's cheaper than running no, it's the same as running 2 punitive. It's more flexible though. They have $1 billion though? Yeah, we have more. I did not realize how much money. Oh, we'll pay 5. Thank you. You're right though, they do have a lot of money. We'll pay 5, thank you. Now get real money. Like they spent 4 on that. Okay. So put this in archives. We actually could celebrity gift and just install. That'd be 7. We discard 1 card. I think we can discard a preemptive pretty safely here. I'm not a value preemptive guy. So we're going to show them what they know we have. Plus an Ike. And I think we just Ike archives. And I'll throw in a preemptive. I feel like I just don't value these cards well. Like on this point in the game, I don't want to spend a click playing this, where I'd rather like try and score out. Oh, I gotta move my face. And they have access to breakers. They have good money. Access to breakers is just the paperclip and the Black Orchestra. So we're doing okay. They've had good money so far. They lost the Maw and the Hippo, so they're running a 2 console build. 46 cards too, and Rebirth is the big question in the room. Is it a Rebirth? No, it's Patchwork, which is more cards out of their hand, but they discard cards anyways. Turning Wheel's good. Nothing too weak to it. We definitely have agendas in hand at this point. These make turns in 2 Rashidas. This deck has a Biotic Labor too. God, this deck is cool. If we do install advance, we have to trash here. Man, Bionic Labor, that's so cool. We definitely don't want to do it. Now we can't put Kugo on the outside anymore, and that's the problem with Kugo. Like people are playing Turning Wheel, which so far we're 2 for 2. 2 for 3. It is actually quite awkward. I think we discard Gugugo. I don't think it's a real tax unless we put it on the remote server. Like, I just don't want to put this on the central. There's no way I want to put it in central. Apex issue boils down to the ability. It wants you to install a card each turn, so you need good continual card draw. The money is second issue. Third is the infraction breaker and not working on most dice. The infraction breaker is a huge issue. If it said stop a run from ending, it would be busted. Or break a subroutine that ends the run. That would be a lot better. Whoa, this is cool. Kevin used to play a list like this before. Honestly, you can draw 4 cards, I'm pretty sure. It basically ensures you get your breakers, but playing that last click, I think that's baiting me into draw 4 cards, but I'm okay with them discarding this many. Maybe with the 35 cards left in their stack, that's not right, because that draws them into a rebirth. But that technically mills a lot. So this means when they install their breakers from the heap, they come in +2 strength, which changes the math pretty heavily. So they installed the Ultra, they threw out a rebirth? What? Isn't the whole point to put the remote server with data loop? Yeah, but we don't have it yet, and I think the list only runs a single data loop. Oh, 2, okay. That was weird. Break a run subroutine. Break a subroutine that includes end the run, yeah, or ends the run any way that you put it. What did we do last click? I think we'll triple advance. Whatever. I don't know if we're not on Anoetic Void. Oh, there's a pad tab. That's obviously good. So now we can score in trash. Hippo, strong. Okay. So we got to do the math here. If they install a Black Orchestra, comes in at 4 strength. So if we res the DNA tracker, I think we don't want to lose the DNA tracker. We'll just not res. That's a labor. That's fine. Scroll chat, please. Yes. Okay. So technically, we are closer to game point. This card has text on it, interestingly enough. I don't think we'd biotic labor it out. But you could swap an agenda for a snare if they run. Is that good? Not amazing. But like, that's the point. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Okay. I will res this Kugugo to eat the hippo. I will do that quite happily. They break you for free. They don't take the damage, but then this Anansi is safe. And if we do a hippo count here, that is the second hippo. My face is over everything. I need to be known. Biotic was often used to closer in this. Yeah, no, it's cute. Our money is now bad though. Okay. So now again, the Cyber Trooper Talud's really strong, but they're going to need their pawn shop for this engine to be sustainable. They've lost 1 so far because now this is gonna be worse. And then we have the border control as well. From here we don't have a lot of money. Obviously we can recover with Celebrity Gift. Well, that wasn't very expensive at all, was it? 6 credit to break that. That's pretty good. So it's 2 more for this, or we can just give them the Yagi-Uda. I think we just give them the Yagi-Uda. Money bad with somebody. Yeah, I think we give them the Yagi-Uda. We will res the Hokusai though. Because we trade the border control, thinking if we trade the border control, right? We'll be on 7, 6, 5. Yeah. This is for the whole turn, yeah. So I don't think we border control this turn. We will we don't res the agenda. We'll res this. Oh, hit a labor rights. Good. MK Ultra only cost 6? Yeah, no, I know. That's for sure. That's why you play that. I wonder if you just put ganked in this list, man. I just want to put ganked in everything. All right, now they're down to 12. We're on 9. Is this what a scoring window looks like? I think it is. So we could put Spin Doctor in a new remote draw. Because at this point, we just want to draw into Agenda and Shipment from Tenon. Oh, NGO front, right. That's a card you can play. That's good enough, I think. Oh, they have pad tap. Fuck. That's 2 credits. I forgot about pad tap. We got too confused. We just gave them 2 credits. That's quite bad. We want to trash that. Gift? I don't love gift. It's a bit too slow. Okay. Stargating while there's a spin doctor on the table seems wrong. We also can recover 1 card up the top. They can't break this, so it's going to eat their turning wheel or Cyber Trooper Talud. I think it's going to eat the turning wheel. This is the Sadaka. They should have known what this is. So, arrange cards. So, it's a Nancy, Aiki, and Spin Doctor. We definitely want the Nancy on there. So, they're going to see 1 unknown card. Choose a card to trash. I think it's the Celebrity Gift at this point. We'll get rid of the turning wheel. But now this is open. Did they find an agenda on top? Okay, it's a snare. So they probably bring that Spin Doctor. But again, with the Spin Doctor on the table, the Stargate does not seem like the play. Whatever they mill, we can just recur. Or whatever they trash, right? They trash the Ike. So it's a Spin Doctor on top and a snare. They can run back to trash the Doctor. That makes sense. That's how they get the most damage out of us. What is this? A Hokusai. Right. They don't know we have this. So I'm going to do install advance. And hope that they do something. Oh no, hold on. Yes. Very good. Ah, he's evolving. He's learning. And then I'm going to click for 2 credits, I think. Or 1 credit. Because we can't res both of these. So we're actually a bit forked. I wish, maybe we shouldn't trash the pat tab there. Maybe we should have just done install advance here. Because they were always going to get the credit off of the Plana. So we could pop the NGO front on their turn. Maybe that was correct. But they only have 24 cards left. They're throwing out more cards too. Running the dock. So we're going to shuffle back in the Spin Doctor. And I think the Kakugo? It just seems so strong in this matchup. Gift, such anti-gift. I don't want a gift there. And they did make a successful run. So Shipment from 10 is online if we top deck an agenda. Oh, snare, that's fine. Okay. Lost a folding and a Wildcat Strike. Draw. 20 cards left. Again, the Rebirth is in here. I think they're drawing into a Labor Rights because if they don't find one, they're done. Maybe they're just drawing up to tank the Nancy. No, that doesn't seem right. They also noticed they trashed over the MK Ultra because it's technically cheaper. It's technically cheaper. Okay, we'll draw once and we'll probably use the preemptive. So we'll draw once for something to jam. 3 snares. Run HQ, my friend. This is an awkward hand because we can't really do anything with this. Whoa, is there anything else we can do? Recursion? Yeah, I think we are for sure, but we have to discard a card here. I think we discard a snare, unfortunately. So I'm going to bring back that. At this point, I think a Rashida and probably an Ice. Like, I think the Sadaka is decent. They might have another turning wheel. Jam Snare is the only option. I don't think they're going to run an unadvanced card. So I don't think Jam Snare is right. They're probably going to win off Centrals when they have a Stargate. So I think the remote, they're just going to try and lock R&D. I think the Hokusai actually might have been relevant considering we know that they have Stargate on the table. That's the Anansi. Again, this is only 8 credits. Technically 6 if they use a patchwork as well, which they are. What's on here? Ike, that's not very good. You're discarding the snare anyways. You might as well try to pressure it. I see what you mean. If they ran server 1, we'd be happy. But yeah, maybe you're right. And Geofront spin, Dr. Shipman. Okay, so we're losing the spin doctor for sure. Yeah, okay. So you know there's an NGO. So if we had an agenda here, we would jam next turn happily. We also know that we're not drawing ice in a couple turns. There's a pawn shop. So that is something we want to trash. And they're down to 12 cards. So we just have to survive. No, one reason to not hit Talit is the Talut and incentivize them to sell MKUltra every turn. Yeah, but that's good. It's actually credit positive. It's bad because of the patchwork for them, but that's their engine in theory. I think Kevin Tame was playing a deck like a year ago at this point with this sort of engine. It was a decklist week. I really liked it. We don't have Arc Lockdown, BMAC, I don't think. I think that's the other list. Yeah, this is not the prison list. This one doesn't have Arc Lockdown. Unfortunately, we're just gonna hope that the what's it called? That the Stargate isn't bad. This is not a great play, but like we draw into whatever the next card is. It's not nice. Maybe we could have done draw. Maybe that would have been fair. But they're probably not gonna run HQ because they're seeing basically every card we draw. You keep getting the bluff, sometimes it'd be like it's just the opposite of flood. Oh, this is good. This is good. This is again only 6 credits. But if they hit a single snare here, we have to pop the NGO front before they access, which is awkward. Because then they know we have snare in here. Right? Like we have to pop this. This also respects in theory Paul up, but not really. Yes. Okay, huge. So they lost a die to folding, and I've had worse than a maw. So now they're on 7 cards left. Another snare in there. They clear the tag. I forget. Yeah, snare has a tag. That's good. It's relevant. They're not going to run HQ. Runner into HQ. I didn't think they'd run HQ. We can only let grinder. That would be a bad luck. Plays more grinder. I don't have anything to jam. I don't know what you want from me. They played another I've had worse. They only have 6 cards left. So labor rights count. We see 3 in the bin. They have no more recursion. That's it. Now we're drawing an unknown card. It's a loop. Did Jane get rid of the action before access step when the runner has to commit? No. I just did not utilize it appropriately. I'll just put this in front of R&D. I don't think a hippo has to be a problem, but we have to destroy this if they play a turning wheel. So that's it. 5 cards left. All the labor rates are gone. They have no more recursion. Our deck runs Obacadas. If they hit a single snare, our Obacadas are totally safe. We've already scored 1, unfortunately. But we have shipments, so they have to run every turn unless we top deck. Like, what do we have? A Sting or a Knife Edward or House of Knives? If we res Data Loop, we're on 0. Doesn't really do anything. This is really bad on a central server. What was I thinking? They don't need cards access. That was a huge mistake. That's a really bad mistake. At least now they're probably not going to end up using the patchwork, so this is a bit more expensive. If anything, the data loop should have gone on archives, honestly. I probably could have just counted how many hippos are in here. Hippo count. 3. 1 removed, 2 in heap. So that was a mistake. Oh, my bad. Shit. It's kind of good because then they had to draw to steal an oboe and you gain Pilana money. Yeah, if they don't trash the oboe, but I reckon they'll trash the oboe. It's cheaper than running through this twice. Yeah, you see? They're definitely going to trash the oboe. They actually win here. We lost. They don't want to turn Pilana ability back on. Yeah, that's true. If they run a last click, they mill 2 more. But we've lost right here. Like, they should definitely trash the oboe. And then just run archives. That's it. We lose. Damn it. If they had hippo, it would be disaster. It'd be pretty bad. Not the worst, but pretty bad. But yeah, no, they have it here. We can't stop this. They put the Obacot in archives. Run back. Pay 6. They'll have 5. Run archives. They have to break 3. So they only need technically only they can throw a card. They only need 3 credits. If you res loop, they would there you would have been fine. Oh, that's a good point. No, because they're gonna Obacata. No. If we les loop, they'd have to do run, draw, run. No, I don't think it would change anything. They might be wondering if Kaguya's on archives. I think they might be, yeah. No matter what, you still just trash the Obacata. Like, even if you're not going to get it this turn, you just trash it. And you can force us to run archives and, like, whatever. We res it. If you can't, you just bounce. Then we're on 3 credits. But yeah, no, we've 100% lost. That's really unfortunate to see Obacat and another agenda. I think that's the only thing that's, like, really disastrous. I like this list, though. I'm playing it probably too much like Grinder. I just don't think we drew agendas. Because we would have jammed anything we drew. barring the one time we did and they stole it. Oh, you trashed the Kagugo and run back twice. That wouldn't be right. Yeah, there you go. Wait, what? No, that's not the right one. Whoa. If we res this, we can't res the data loop. I don't think that matters this turn. Is there any way that they're gonna... What? Is there any way that they can run back here and see 2 cards? They can install another start. No, I'll res this. I don't think we need 7 credits. Honestly, now this is a nice surprise we have. But they're probably going to Stargate it. So this actually does cost them 5 credits. Or 6 credits. I'm not going to fire this because they can't draw. I'm just not going to fire it. It doesn't do anything. Yeah, the subroutine on this draws 2 cards. It doesn't do anything. So they have the Yagi-Uda. They have 5 cards in hand. They have 2 clicks left. But it's 2 cards down. Why did they mill it? Punitive? Were they worried about punitive? I think we trash trash this and put the Obokata there. I feel like we're like very close to misplaying. At some point we'd actually consider value punitiving, but I think punitive would not be good because then we wouldn't have stare money. We couldn't res the Kagugo. Value punitive would put them at, honestly, value punitive is kind of cute, isn't it? Yeah, punitive protect Obokata isn't the worst. Now I kind of regret not doing that. Huh. So at this point, if they steal the Obokata, they win. So I still think we'd rather play the punitive than the biotic. Yeah, that might have been the only punitive window. Maybe punitive there was right, because them on 3 cards protects that a heck of a lot. I just don't know if we hit the money, right? Like they were on 7, we started on 5. We can still very easily lose. Oh no, actually the Obokata's nearly safe. We can't fire snare here, which is the bigger issue. They could fish HQ here pretty safely that we're on 2 credits. So we just have to survive for a turn. Because if they hit the Obokata, they win. And if they hit the snare, we're in a really bad spot too. This is like comparable to a DNA tracker, I guess, in all cases besides into an ice carver to all cases besides DNA tracker, which it actually saves 3 credits. Please no, please no, please no. Shipment, sick. They can run one more time, and they need to run every turn, or there's a chance that we can shipment from 10 and out. They know it's in there, so it's a question of who hits what first, a snare or Obokata. Oh man, this is actually gonna be quite close. We have no money. Please no, please no, please no. Shipment, sick. I don't think they know we have 2. Right. Okay. Cool. Cool. I think if we install that, we go down to 1. We can't click to 4, so we click to 4. I'm throwing this out. I feel like every other card in hand is a bit better. I feel like punitive is still good. Yeah, I'm gonna throw that out. Obviously, that's like very good to protect Obokata. I just don't see how we're gonna pay 7 for this anytime soon. And I think this threat might be good. Overinstall loop on archives, click for 2. Oh, that is good. Yeah, I do like that. I think that's better, yeah, than what we did. Oh, now if we top deck an agenda. Wait, what's the remote server? Oh man, if they have 1 fewer card. If they have 1 fewer card, the Hokusai is actually totally safe. Shit, I didn't know we were gonna draw a 3rd one. Obviously, I would love to keep the data loop at this point. Damn. All right, we're playing prison. Let's see who top decks. Like if we just top deck basically any agenda, that's a 3-2. Oh no, that's not true. Yagi Yuta doesn't change much. I'm thinking of the other deck. What do we have? Do we have a Sting or do we have oh, we have Longevity Serum? Project Yagi Uta Avocado. Oh, we don't even have agendas that do damage. That's a bummer. So we're on game point. So now if we jam into remote, so if we can get a Kagugo on the remote server and we can force them twice through, or once even through with the border control, they can't steal it. So we need a Kagugo on the server. What's behind the Anansi? It's a border control. So they can run this twice. Oh wow, if this whiffs, they don't have enough cards to, we can just jam the Obokata next turn. And there's only one more Obokata, so they need to find the Obokata here, or 2 agendas. And even 2 agendas is difficult, right? Or sorry, Obokata is difficult because of Kagugo. Yeah, if we had the 7 strength ice here, it'd be a bit better. Not that we can res it. This is getting close. Oh, why does it keep happening? Oh no. Card perfect. Wait, no, because now they can't run R&D. Wait, now they can't run R&D. Oh, but they win the game. Never mind. I can count to 7. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Ah, why do they have to find the Obokata there? There's 1 in 13. Whatever. That's fine. Damn. I thought they had to steal 2. Yeah. All the traps. Yeah. Clearly meant to play Grinder. I know. I wanted to play that more like Grinder, I'll be honest. It was really unfortunate that every Stargate for the last couple turns saw 5 points. It's a bit unlucky on our side. If they only saw 2 points, we'd be okay because they were at 4, and at that point we can install Advanced Obokata, and it's totally safe on top of a Hokusai grid. So we just need R&D to hold out for 1 more turn. And there's only like 3 agendas in the whole deck, so that was unlikely to happen. Dragon can get access game. Hey, you too. People said about the PE band. I'm not. I definitely know because I've been reading online. People are, and I get it, right? Like, PE is like so core to so many people who play Netrunner and have for a long time. Obviously, that's more to do with like casual Netrunner than it is competitive Netrunner. So we know they don't have Mad Dash. Honestly, I don't know. That is actually a good point in theory. They could have Mad Dashed to 2-pointer. It doesn't look like they did. I didn't check their bin. But I feel like if they had a Mad Dash, yeah, you're right. And either agenda wouldn't have mattered. I don't think they would have gone for the Obokata if they had Mad Dash though, right? I think they would rather Mad Dash for the win. I have no doubt some people are upset, but I'm really glad that at least, I don't know. I don't love PE. I don't love playing against PE, I'll be honest. But I'm at least glad for those who are upset that it seems like it's a temporary ban just for these, just for the couple months. It's kind of like what Eric said. It's not like PE was super competitive. People enjoyed playing and got it taken away. The thing is, though, like I think the majority of people who are playing PE can and probably are still playing it in startup because it's legal in startup, right? Like if you want to play startup, PE is legal. Like I don't know how many people are like casually playing PE in standard, and if they were still casually playing PE in standard, they're likely playing casual PE in outside of standard, in like classic and like FFG card pool land, right? Like at the end of the day, if it is restricted, that means you can't play it at sanctioned standard events. There are so few of those. Like if you go to your meetup and like they're playing startup, you good. If you're going to your casual pub runner and people playing standard, that's an issue, I guess. That's not happening around here, so maybe I'm missing that part of Netrunner. But for me, like casual local play is almost entirely startup at this point. So it's only tournament play, and P wasn't that well represented. That's my thoughts. We spent a lot of time talking about the ban list. Oh, it's past midnight. I'm actually quite excited about it. We're gonna be playing definitely a lot more. I need to find some time in a couple weeks to like. I think we're gonna do some streams on the weekends. We have some events coming up. I can't talk about them publicly. We'll talk about it as soon as we can. But I know there's gonna be some weekend streams coming up before Worlds. And again, Worlds isn't about 1 month from now. Actually, a bit less at this point. So hopefully you're doing your testing well. I'm excited to see. It is admittedly worth noting that if you are one of those players who just loves scouring Netrunner DB for deck lists, it might be a bit quiet for the next couple month because a lot of people are testing things privately and are not as quick to share what they've come up with, because obviously that is, you know, something they want to bring to Worlds. And again, huge shout out for the Nice team for sharing the lists that they've been publicly testing, because again, a lot of people, well, some people get a bit upset about how testers might have an edge up when it comes to like a new meta. Or just spy on people on JNet. That's what I do. I do that all the time. I smurf and I have a second monitor and I just walk into lobbies and then I just sit there and nobody asks me to leave because it's awkward. A lot of people password protect their rooms if they're like really grinding games, but yeah, that's what I do all the time. What's the best part of this new ban list? Asks Sam. How's it going, Sam? I think the best part to me as a non playing super competitively is that there's no more 419, which is just a hard card to deal with in general if your deck doesn't have the most robust economy. Like, it's hard to do your cute fun thing when you have to also pay for 419 and worry about the pressure that he puts on. So that's, I think, abstractly, or not abstractly, like very obviously good for me. Also the fact that that you don't have to deal with the sports metal decks until someone figures out how to build them again. That Vashron got banned, that is also quite good. Because again, you need a competitive deck that could win super fast and deal with sports meta. Otherwise, you should not have brought it to the tournament. So I think that will open things up. I think Mad Dash is going to be a really big deal, more so than Pad Tab, but Pad Tab's also very good. But I think that's where I'd start. I'm not excited to play Gagarin on the casual lobbies of JNet. Let me tell you that. Let's play some more PE Prison. That's largely it. Thanks so much. We had a really fun stream today. I was really looking forward to streaming today. Huge shout outs to everyone we played games with, everyone hanging out in chat and sharing their opinions on the standard ban list. It's fantastic. Huge shout out obviously to Nisei. Worlds is a huge undertaking, and it being online, still a lot of people are going to participate, usually more people than if it was in person anyways. And on top of that, the standard ban list team putting out some stuff, and specifically it's a hard time to do a standard ban list because last standard ban list, I think there's some pretty critical responses. So them saying like, okay, here we go, and then having people say this is a good ban list, that slaps. That's really good. So shout outs to them for sure. We'll see if it is a good ban list though. Who knows? It looks good. Click for credits is fun when done in moderation. Everything in moderation, even click for credits. But that'll be it. We'll be back in a week. Anyways, also shout out if you're watching the VOD. That's largely it. Hopefully you're having a good time, enjoying your October. Got a busy weekend this weekend, but we'll be back in a week, eh? Take care of yourself.